Well, shit, we're almost on time tonight, folks. How's everybody doing? So this is Zoo here with Flipping the Switch, and I got a very special guest tonight. So I'm going to pretend like everybody here doesn't know who the fuck this is, and I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself. Probably know her better than you fucking know my ass. So, welcome to Liquored Up Live, and this is she's been on before, but this is her first solo appearance. So Emily, I'm gonna bring it over to you. Say hi to everybody. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Pretend like they don't know who you are.
All right. Well, hello. I'm Emily, and on YouTube, I'm also known as Orbalology, and I just mainly like talking about games and collecting, and kind of everything in between. So I'm really excited for tonight. I think this is the first time I've been on camera live, so it should
Yeah,
be fun.
we had that big, gigantic open bar for the Cold Nights Discord, and there was so much chaos going on. I don't think anybody activated their fucking camera then. So
No.
that was pretty good stuff. But that was chaos. I think we're a little more sophisticated since then. Been figuring this out a little bit more. So Brooke Barnes
Yeah.
is in the chat. First one in, draws first blood. Hi, Brooke. How you doing today? But
Hello.
yeah, other than that, I guess I'll go ahead and give my introduction. So new added to the bio. So I am Zoo. I'm a strange internet ghost. Last cool kid on the internet, Dread Harbinger, physical caveman, not 6'1". That's important, guys. According to the trolls, not 6'1", and a faceless fuck. I am also a reviewer and digital bartender, and basically I go by many names, such as who the fuck does he think he is? But um, I also review video games sometimes, and other than that, just stay on and get liquored up and go live. That's pretty much it. So I guess to kickstart
Mhm.
this, I remember when I first discovered your channel. So I had recently discovered
Oh.
a channel called Cold Nights Gaming, and through Cold Nights, some of your stuff came up, specifically the things on how to navigate Japanese auction sites, which helped me tremendously in my collecting because usually I'd go to Play Asia, like most normies do. You go to Play Asia, they break it off in your ass sometimes, and that's just how it is.
Yeah.
But some of those
Or eBay.
Japanese or
It's,
eBay, yeah,
yeah.
100%. But those Japanese auction sites, sometimes you could get some good deals on those. So I guess that would be my first
Yeah.
question: is how did you start getting into some of that the more because you do reviews as well, you do collecting, but you also do things that are just very useful reference points for gamers. So, what brought that on, and what made you decide to share that kind of stuff?
I guess specifically when it comes to importing things from Japan, I have other hobbies that overlap, I guess, with gaming.
Okay,
So I kind of had a leg up, I guess, in that department. So I knew, like, once I knew how to find these other things, like I'm a big K-pop collector, and so I buy a lot of musics and DVDs and other kind of merchandise, like concerts and things over
hmm,
there. So once I kind of figured out a good way to do that for other hobbies, it just translated to gaming once I got a little bit more involved into it.
gotcha.
And so I noticed like we didn't really have that many resources on gaming. Like people will just show like an import thing, or I was sponsored by XYZ, so this
Yep,
is how you do it on their site, kind of thing. So I just wanted to kind of compile all the things that I've learned over the years, and I guess what sort of things I find most useful, and hope it helps someone else.
so a lot of people, when they talk about adding value to themselves, they talk about a addition of value. So it's, the traditional way is to, let's say, for example, a degree. You have a degree in something. Let's say I'm a mathematics major, and then I add a master's to that, and then I add a doctorate to that, on and on and so forth. But I think what you're speaking about that's kind of interesting is another way to look at adding value, and that is multiplication of values. So you have the value of being a collector of K-pop and other things like that, and instead of just adding to the K-pop, and which is perfectly natural, you probably do that too. But you can also
Yep.
multiply that value across to other mediums, and it sounds like that's what you did.
Yeah, certainly. And I feel like sometimes when it comes to certain hobbies, we're just so like blind, like very one direction.
Oh yeah,
But really, there's so many things that could encompass, a lot of different hobbies. We see that like with, for example, like OSTs. Sometimes you get like some Japanese rock bands who
mhm,
participate in some gaming, soundtracks. Like for example, One OK Rock, which I really like them. I've seen them live a few times here in the U.S. I think they were on the Sonics. Uh, which one? not the last Sonic one, but the open world Sonic one, I think part of their soundtrack. And so I think it's just kind of cool just how gaming kind of encompasses more than just gaming itself. There's, it's multifactorial.
Well, if you had told me, because I grew up in the old arcade era, and if you had told me that gaming was going to be the most vibrant medium for telling stories, I would not have fucking believed you. There was actually a time when I wouldn't even I was more that arcade values tactile gaming kind of guy. And I'm literally just like, hey, there's nothing you're going to write that's as good as Moby Dick. There's nothing you're going to write that's as good as Shakespeare. Just make a fucking game. Let me know about the story later. And I have done a 360 flip on that. And part of it was that my job became extraordinarily busy. And video games were kind of a way to de-stress. And that's how I discovered visual novels. But part of that is just that there have been leaps and bounds in the way video game stories are told. It just seems like to me. It just seems to get better and better and better to the point where they're actually kind of one-up in Hollywood and television in many ways now.
Yeah, I think that just speaks to advancements in technology and ways to communicate with people. It's become like you were citing a lot of the classics. I feel like a lot of those were intended for a specific audience, but with video games, because it's so global now, it has to transcend kind of the intended audience that a lot of the classics were aimed at back in the day. So I think just opening communication in that way makes it somewhat more interesting, if you will.
Well, and again, that global environment, video games are very, very young as a medium. And so I think it's also drawing from in the population is much larger as well. So I think a lot of it comes from the fact that it's drawing a lot more talent than mediums in the 50s, say Hollywood or books have drawn throughout history. Especially if you look at the way writing evolved. Like very, very, very few people could actually write coherently or read coherently, especially back way, way long time ago. And so
there's definitely advancements in educational attainment.
So talent pool is that talent pool, and that educational pool grows. You start to see more and more of that added forward, and more people have access to be able to do those things. It's one of the things we're seeing now with video games. It used to be that you had to be able to program a computer to make a video game. And while that's still true to some extent, like there's a fan project called Tamaria Rebuilt that is the bane of my fucking existence right now. Because what they do is they are slowly but surely adding the mainland of Morrowind that the developers didn't have time to do when they released the game. And they are adding a lore-friendly mainland piece by piece by piece. And every time they drop a new update, it derails me by about 4 months in terms of content, because that's where I'm basically at Morrowind right now. I need to clean my computer desk right now. It's looking like fucking Asmongold's. Not that bad, I promise, guys. But I need to... if anybody from Tamaria Rebuilt is listening, and they may be, because I frequent that Discord sometimes, y'all gotta fucking slow this down for me. I know that's selfish, but I know you can do it. I believe in you. But anyway, got off on one of my old man rants, but basically the point I'm trying to make is that like advancements are happening in video games too, where again, it used to be where it's a very complex thing, and slowly but surely everybody's going to be able to get into video game development through the proliferation of tools like Blender for animation or art assets. You've got AI, which is making massive advancements, and the ability that literally, like Sea of Stars, if you want, you can send an email and you can literally hire the fucking guy that did Chrono Trigger's music. You can hire him to do a music track for you. And so music is becoming more available. Graphics are becoming more available. It just seems like it is everything is kind of reaching that point of singularity where a lot of people are going to be able to get into this thing.
Yeah, though the other recent talk has been with all the layoffs and everything. Are we going to, reach a plateau at some point, or some rocky pastures in the next couple of years, and how that's going to,
I think
continue with the growth of this?
I think AAA gaming's kind of done, at least the current model. Yeah. I think they're kind of finished. Did you see that shit on Star Wars Battlefront Collection? Have you been following that shit?
Not that specifically, no.
Oh my goodness!
Was the latest?
This is the newest turd that dropped into the punch bowl. Basically, what happened is Star Wars Battlefront by Aspyr came out. It's 2 DVD player and GameCube and Xbox games. They're from that fucking era. They're like 12.
Yeah, I played it on the PS2 back in the day.
Yeah. So they put these 2 games, and they're 67 some odd gigabytes for the games. There's more fucking spaghetti code than games. The games are a mess. There's like Darth Vader's fucking head running around with a lightsaber. Nothing's working right. The servers don't work right. 60 plus gigabytes for a fucking Xbox game? You've got to be kidding me. And so it just seems like everything they touch, even these remasters, there's more spaghetti code than game. And it's a point I've been making on this show for a long time, which is that with these newer systems, and you kind of made a controversial little video on that, which I loved, but it was on the PS5, and it was kind of airing some of those thoughts. And it was all about that fact that it's like, hey, we were promised a certain value for upgrading the generations, and it seems like the only people who are getting any value out of this is publishers and game devs who basically utilize that hardware not to make better games, but instead what they seem to be doing is making it easier on themselves to strap spaghetti code in and not work, is what it seems like to me.
Yeah.
So I think that model is dead. I think that's going to go away. I do think we'll still have AAA games, but guys, this can't continue. Like,
Be fewer and far between.
yeah, and the good news is, like, I hate that people are being laid off. I don't want that, but it does add the opportunity because a lot of these guys now, a lot of them will just leave and they'll go into other industries because my Rush Dog in the forum and Cold Night says a lot of times that you have to be crazy to work in games because it just pays so much better in other industries and you work 3 times less hard. But the people who truly, truly want to be in video games and aren't just there for a fucking lifestyle statement will make indie studios. And I think a lot of those talented developers will get their break and make a killing. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's definitely, opportunities for, I think, these devs, though. It's hard with also the economy. It's just, it's hard to, maybe do a startup at this point just because of, how strapped everyone is for cash right now. So they're kind of in survival mode. So they might have to be forced to go to other industries, maybe do something part-time as like a passion project, but it's hard to say, I think.
Well, I said that back in 2020, like, who thought that was a good idea? What a great idea. What can go wrong launching 2 brand new pieces of hardware during a worldwide fucking pandemic and macroeconomic decline? What a great time to release a new console, guys. Like, bang up job you did there. I kind of figured when I saw that, I raised my eyebrows and said, okay, like, we'll see. But
yeah, well, I think also just, at least in the US, everything was kind of, inflated a little bit, it didn't seem as bad as it was, I think, for some people. So we're kind of having the repercussions of that now. And I think
they saw
within the next year or two,
video games were uniquely positioned, I think, in that time to kind of clean up. If they wouldn't have put out new hardware, that's the problem. Because if you look at the Switch, it did fantastic. Like during that period, Animal Crossing was an absolute phenomenon. But the reason
that's what finally made me pull the trigger and get my own Switch. Actually,
yes.
Animal Crossing. That was my first Animal Crossing ever, but everyone else was playing it. And like, okay, I'll get the light, even though I didn't have any cash at the time, really. But I was like, okay, this is what I'll sink a lot of time into now. That
and keep in mind, because
it was an interesting time for me.
Well,
we can talk about later, but
because like, as you know, it took away all of gaming's competition, damn near. Because keep in mind, I always talk about gaming doesn't just compete with other video games; they compete with all other entertainment. So they compete with those K-pop concerts for your time. They compete with going outside and going for a hike. They compete with going out to movies or going out to dinner because time is the ultimate currency. It's finite. And so if you're playing games, you're not doing something else. And suddenly with the pandemic, cut that shit in half. That's what ended up happening. And so I said,
more people had time. Actually, I had a lot more time. So
a lot more time.
It's hard to say,
but not as much opportunity to do those outdoor activities. Like a lot of people, especially if you go to Europe, they were locked down.
Community activities for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so there was more.
Like I went hiking a ton, but
so we were sort of locked down in some cases. There was a certain time at the worst of the pandemic here in Illinois, we were locked down. Like, it was like 6-month period, but you didn't leave your house unless you had to. Fucking crazy.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I was in between Wisconsin and California at the time, so
Wisconsin, California,
it was a weird time.
Yeah. So
they
probably
they had like a lot more open, I think, options.
right.
But yeah, definitely no community kind of things. Like concerts were out of the question.
Very, very tough. And then the other thing is the gaming press, and this is where I think a lot of people are coming to YouTube for their gaming news and their gaming needs, because they gave that fucking piece of shit an 83 out of 100 Metascore is what it ended up with,
Well,
and everybody
I kind of blame IGN for a lot of
oh yeah.
the
Hey,
issues with the gaming press.
hey, IGN always has it down, don't they? Hey, this game is a absolute masterpiece. We loved every minute of it. 8 out of 10. This is a seriously flawed experience. There's a lot of flaws in this game. 8 out of 10. Like, that seems to be everything gets an 8 out of 10. We can't play Cuphead, but we'll give everything an 8 out of 10. That seems to be. I haven't taken IGN seriously. God,
I haven't looked at their stuff in a long time.
I don't even look at gaming press, but I'm impressed to see that more and more people are kind of catching up to why they're pretty much pointless at this point. Like, as a medium, they seem to have just lost the plot in comparison to new media, it seems like. But
now people are just reading headlines on Twitter, or they have like maybe a favorite YouTuber they go to for their source. I can't. It's not necessarily better. I don't know. I think it's hard to have the media literacy, I think, in hobbies.
Yeah, I don't know
for
if it's
anything
better,
really.
For sure. I don't know if it's better, because as we've seen time and time again, like, YouTube is can be just as nasty as anything else. Like, and that
a lot of.
Well, did you see H Bomber Guy's expose on like all the YouTube plagiarism and shit going on?
I didn't look at it fully, but I just caught the headlines for that. It seems like a clusterfuck.
It absolutely, it's crazy, and so it makes me, thank God, like, I come from that background where I went to college, and so I know, hey, check your sources before you put anything out there. Do the word search.
Yeah, I have to publish in academic journals, so yeah.
Yeah, you got to do it. And YouTube creators, if there's any creators listening, you got to do it, man. I know it sucks, and I know a lot of times most of the plagiarism is actually unintentional. Believe it or not, it's unintentional. But
it is.
Happens.
It really is.
It happens, and it sucks. So one of the things I do, like, I'm doing my Batman Arkham Trilogy review, and basically my premise on that is looking at Batman as kind of a failed panopticon, like a failed Bentham's panopticon, essentially. And that's basically what happens over the course of that game. And so Batman, Foucault, Panopticon, Jeremy Bentham, and go. And there's nothing. So it's like, all right, cool. We're go on that. But it's just a quick added step you've got to do in the current environment, because last thing you need is that H Bomber guy fucking Eye of Sauron fucking showing up on you. Like, not good.
No, like, I even feel bad because I use, like, for my background music, I use like actual soundtracks from video games, and I know there's copyright issues and all that, but
but let them claim.
Like, even if my videos get demonetized, I'm like, well, oh well, that's what I put that on myself anyway.
Well, I do the same thing, but I mean, that's you're doing, essentially, anytime somebody's talking about your game, you got to be fucking crazy to claim that shit, because that's technically free advertising that we're doing for you.
For sure. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I use trailers right now for a lot of the game footage, which I think it's kind of like,
that's what I'm doing too.
I think they put it out there for that.
Yeah, and that's why I do it. Like, when I try to do, like, I was talking to another creator, big time creator, and basically what he told me, he said, Zoo, trailers are fine. What you don't want to do, though, is do any live footage without that user's permission. That's what you don't want to do. But he says,
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's something to avoid for sure.
Mm-hmm. But he said, in general, trailers are fine, because that's the whole point of that stuff. So you can
that's official on there.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's like an asset.
So everybody has their, like, superhero or supervillain origin story in terms of getting into a hobby. What was your origin point game? What was that game that made you say, you know what? I'm going to start doing this thing a lot more. I'm going to be a gamer. What was that game?
So is it gaming or get more involved in gaming and collecting? Are you asking?
I guess we'll go. Yeah, it's a dual question.
Because they're kind of two different origins here for me.
Yeah. So first game you ever played, and the game that cemented you as that
Okay.
identity of I'm going to play more games. Like I'm going to be a gamer. I'm going to explore more of this endless ocean.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think when it comes to my origins of gaming, I definitely credit my dad.
Okay.
He was also really into games at the time, in the early 90s. So whenever we would go to like the drugstore or something, he would pick out some sort of like rated E, CD-ROM game for me to play.
I remember.
So a lot of the
games were
humongous
in
entertainment
drugstores.
stuff. Yes, that's where I got all the clearance section.
I
don't think they paid very much for it. But that's when like Rite Aid and all those, they used to carry, video games. Even
Sears.
like we played a lot of like not janky ones.
Uh-huh.
My brother and I back then.
Yeah, any specific one that comes to mind?
Like definitely the Putt-Putts and Freddy the Fish. Like, that was probably the earliest memory I have, honestly, when I was like 5. But
I remember those.
Yeah, I would play a lot of the other kind of weird janky games too. I love the Lego games. Like those weren't as janky, but like Lego Island, all the different simulator games. Like I loved Legoland. I was a little bit older at the time.
Yeah.
Where you got to design the theme park. And that sort of simulation, Lego soccer. Like I think I even played Lego chess. Like I played like all the Lego games.
So it sounds so basically you started kind of PC wise.
Yes, I was definitely always a PC gamer until I got my first handheld when I was like 8. I think the Game Boy Color. I got that for Christmas along with my brother at the time. We both got one, and I want to say the first game I played was Pokemon Silver.
Nice. I got a Windows.
So that's definitely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In terms of PC gaming, I got a Windows. It was a Windows PC. I don't remember what year. I remember it came with a demo disc, and the demo disc had like everything. I remember playing Doom and Beavis and Butthead game, and there was a few other demos. There was the pinball game, the Space Cadet. That was one of my first ones I remember. And essentially, what ended up happening is we had a really nice PC we bought. I played a little game called on a PC at the time called Ultima 6, and I never looked back in terms of the PC gaming. I was hooked. Like Ultima 6 was an incredible experience. That was my first real computer role-playing experience. And of course that love stayed with me all the way through Baldur's Gate 3, Elder Scrolls Morrowind, that kind of thing. But Star Control, that 1 year that I played Ultima 7 and Star Control 2 in the same year, that fucking cemented me. Now, in video game consoles, the first game I ever had, my dad was also, I credit him as well. He brought home an old used NES, and it was Mario Brothers. It had Duck Hunt cartridge. It had Excite Bike, Defender 2. It had Gunsmoke, Contra, Zelda, and Zelda 2. I remember that. And just it was like a box. Every box was like its own toy box, like an experience, a whole different world. And
yeah.
I just remember getting lost.
I feel like you got a good range there.
Yeah. And the one we played the most though was like the Duck Hunt and the Mario, and I would literally learn how to play games by watching my dad play, because that was back when Mario was 1 player, 2 players. So you would play, you'd fuck up and die, and then the next player would show up, and he would run as far as he could. And so I was Luigi, he was Mario, and I would literally learn video games by emulating his movements and watching to see what he did. And so,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a really cool. And eventually, I'm going to have Dad on here when he can figure out Discord, so he can kind of separate the myth, the fiction from the reality, the myth from the real. He can tell me what I've false memoried and what actually happened. But I know that for a fact is that Mario Brothers, playing with him, and Contra, much less successful, was kind of my first gaming experience. So now in terms of when I made the jump to RPGs, JRPGs in particular, that's a little hazier to me. I remember Final Fantasy 1, but I don't remember it being a game I particularly enjoyed at the time. I think it's probably going to be Final Fantasy 4 on the Super Nintendo, probably, or believe it or not, Shadowrun on the Genesis. Although it's not really a JRPG, but I think it's my origin point. So what would your origin point for JRPGs have been?
Well, technically it was Pokemon Silver, if you consider that a JRPG.
Yes, I do. Actually, it was Pokemon. I forgot about Pokemon more than anything.
It's Pokemon, but that was before I knew it was a JRPG, though. So I got into JRPGs on the PS2.
Okay.
So like Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy 12, Dark Cloud. Those are kind of the staples I had on the PS2 at the time. That I kind of figured out, I really like these story-driven games. I don't know what this genre is, but it's cool.
Bash talks a lot about Dark Cloud. That's one of his favorites. So that's one. If I ever get the Almighty DVD player, I'll have to check that one out. That's one I want to check out. I do have Final Fantasy 12. It's on the list. What do we think about Final Fantasy 12? Is it one you enjoyed?
It was my first Final Fantasy, and I loved it at the time. I was, I think, 16 when it came out, and I was just glued to it. I think I tried to get my brother to play with me, but when he saw the Gambit system, he's like, I don't want to be involved with this. So it was just kind of me sitting next to, because we used to play games a lot together. We shared consoles and games. So yeah, I was very determined to beat it, and when I did, I was satisfying, but the ending, as you may have heard, it's a little lackluster.
Okay. Well, I will definitely find out for myself for sure before long. Coming into Final Fantasy,
I want to replay it with the Zodiac Age version because I hear they changed a few things, and I have it on the Switch too, I think. So someday I'll replay it. It's just the backlog, ever endless.
Oh God, I'm over 400 games now, Emily, and they all.
I haven't counted, but I'm sure by the time I buy most of the games I want, I'll have at least 400 in the backlog.
They all need a review too. God. So
you don't have to do a full fleshed out review for every game.
Maybe
unless you want to, of course.
Yeah, it's all I know how to do. But yeah, maybe the smaller games like Ape Out, Ryoku's Island Express, maybe they don't need the full fucking treatment, but they end up that way anyway.
You could combine some too, like similar games, and you could compare them. I don't know.
Ooh, that's a good idea. Something to make this.
That's what I've been doing. Instead of an individual review, I just like these are the games I played the last quarter or something, and this is what I thought.
Yeah.
It's not really a review. I never call myself a review because I'm not, I would say, a critical reviewer when it comes to my hobbies.
No, and I get that completely. And I don't necessarily know if you could call my thing reviews either. It's more just relating games to my own personal experiences.
They're more, I think they're philosophical. So I think that plays into the review category.
Yeah. As I say, I don't know if I can call myself a critical reviewer, at least not yet. I haven't found anything I really genuinely fucking hate yet. So far on my Switch journey. And part of that is curation. It's a word you like and I've stolen. And that is that I tend to be very it's
open to everyone. It's not. I didn't start with it. I stole it from somewhere. I don't know where.
Everybody steals everything from somewhere. Yeah, it's. But that's why I heard it. And I'm like, you know what? I really like that. Even though I've got 400 fucking games, it's still curation if you compare it to the vast Switch library and how many of those fucking things there are.
Yeah, and you deliberately bought them too for one reason or another.
So. Absolutely. All right, I guess.
And whenever you don't like a game, would you ditch it? Like sell it or trade it in?
So I
don't know if you've been on that part yet.
Yeah, so my old man advice on that has always been to don't sell your games. You'll just regret it later, like in general. But if I absolutely can't stand a game, there's no point in it staying on my shelf. But if I like a game, I'm not afraid to boot it. If it's not what I ever see myself playing again.
I think that's part of the curation kind of method.
Right.
Because we're not going to like everything. That's just the nature of things.
No.
It's possible our taste could change over time, but I don't think it'll drastically change at our age.
No. Yeah. I've changed a lot more than I thought I would in my older age, but you definitely start to get set in a lot of things too. 100%. Mm-hmm. So I guess we'll take a look at the chat, see what's going on here.
It's been going wild.
So. Oh, I know. Brooke Barnes says excited to be here. I'm excited to have you, Brooke. Thanks for stopping in. Miss Mandy is in the house. Hey, how you doing, Miss Mandy? How you doing? How's Tony doing? What you guys cooked at dinner tonight? Anything good? I gotta get back to cooking. I've been door dashing way too much lately with the hellaciousness of work.
Ooh.
It's not.
That must be expensive.
It's I don't look anymore, and I'm privileged to be in a position where I just don't even have to look. But I'll tell you where I'm not liking it though, and I'm getting some comments from the significant other department on the waistline a little bit. So not that it's impacted me too bad yet, but she's just like, hey, you're gonna get fat if you keep doing that. And so like
it's good to know what you're eating if you cook it.
Yep, you know exactly.
You'll know what ingredients are in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whereas when you go out to eat, it just seems like you feel like a bloated piece of shit afterwards every time. Like
also with like DoorDash, aren't there like ghost kitchens and things like that?
You got to
avoid. It just seems so weird nowadays.
Oh, they have shit food most of the time. You got to avoid if there. Yeah. Now I may be wrong, chat. So if there are any ghost kitchens that are worth a fuck, put them in the chat, and I'll explore it for sure. But for the most part, the ghost kitchens. Like every time I get one, I'm like, oh, that tastes terrible. And then looking up, there's like 90 fucking restaurants coming from one location. I'm like, you got me. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
Gotta be careful of those.
Yeah, it's but generally their food quality is not great. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the ghost kitchens. It's like the NFT of restaurants.
I think there's issues with like health services too, because like when an inspector comes, it goes for one restaurant, but they have like 90 in their place. They're not all going to be checked.
Now you're scared.
Like there's some like weird controversial stuff.
Yeah, now you're scared.
You can deep dive into it on YouTube if you want.
Okay. Yeah, now I'm gonna have to check that rabbit hole out now. Like ghost kitchens for sure. Zero Cool's in the house. He says hello. How's it going, Zero? Thanks for stopping in. And then Brooke Barnes, are we going to be able to discuss Madoka Magica? Yes. As soon as we get on with this chat, we'll kind of go over that. Emily, have you seen Madoka Magica yet?
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm very behind in most anime.
Do you plan
One Piece?
Do you plan
the one I'm up to date with?
Do you plan on seeing Madoka Magica?
I don't even know what it is, to be honest.
Okay.
So probably not.
So, all right, cool. So yeah, we can.
So you guys can talk about it. It's okay.
Okay. So
even if you talk about it, I probably won't remember it.
Okay. So we can definitely discuss.
I do.
90s Handheld Gamer. Hey everyone. Hey, what's going on, 90s? How you doing? Good to see you in the chat. Devin S made it. Hey, what's going on, Devin? Welcome in. And then Devin S said Aspire didn't do good with Star Wars KOTOR. That breaks my heart because Knights of the Old Republic was one of my favorite PC games. So if they did a bad job with KOTOR, that's gonna make me a sad panda, Devin. I hope that's not true. That sucks. Did you ever play Knights of the Old Republic, Emily?
I didn't. I only played like Lego Star Wars and Battlefront. I think that's the only Lego game.
Those are good Star Wars games.
I've played.
Those are good. If you like,
it's been a while. Again, this is PS2 era.
Yep. Absolutely. We must be talking about next gen. Mike Clark says we're absolutely talking about next gen. Zero Cool says repercussions are definitely happening. LOL. Yeah, big time.
Yes.
So.
They're only gonna get worse.
Allie's in the chat. What's going on, Allie? Welcome in. She says, I saw this recently with Ova Magica dev who completely broke down recently because of the lack of funds and not enough money for her publicity. I felt my heart go out to her. Oh gosh. Yeah, that sucks. Like if you've got a really good idea for a game, you're an indie developer and there's just no funds anymore because the industry is contracting and that now Allie, one thing I will caution everybody. So you do see a lot of layoffs happening with games. It's not to discount that or anything. I don't want people to think I'm uniquely singling out the games industry for this because every industry is contracting right now. We are going through a major correction in terms of macroeconomics, and I don't necessarily think it's going to end anytime soon. I think we've got a rough few years ahead of us. I really do. If the shit I've been looking at, in terms of my own investments or anything to write home about, like I am floored. Usually I pursue
just history.
Yeah, I usually pursue a sector rotation strategy, which keeps me completely out of trouble. Because of all the funny money flowing in as well from governments, even commodities futures isn't safe. Like I'm getting the shit knocked out of me. Yeah,
I've been writing the tech stuff right now, but I think I'm gonna pull back soon.
Soon, very soon. Because big tech has actually been the smart play right now, but you're starting to
Yes.
see even that begin to contract now. You start to see major shifts
Yeah.
in that.
It's hard to time it, but yeah, it's it's scary.
Yep.
I want to be a
Absolutely.
little bit more conservative.
It allowed me to actually look into titles I never thought of playing and completing them, surprisingly enough. Devin S says. Yeah, again, suffering the same problem here. I'm working my way through the Trails series right now, Devin. So I've also become a Trails guy on the internet, just like Emily and just like
Yeah.
Brandon from Just the Gems. Trails crew. And we're definitely going to hit on that later, I promise you. But yeah, slowly but surely working through without the giant colossus of Morrowind to come suck more of my time. Let's see here. It says
Must resist.
Yes, must. Yeah, good luck. Can't even follow Metacritic reviews anymore, Devin S says, or the score just sticking to YouTube. Yeah. But again, like we talked about, got to be careful on new media too. Certain things you got to look out for sure. So Scorpio's in the house. Scorpio, hello everyone. Hope we're all well. We're doing great, Caesar. We're doing great, man. Hope you're having a good weekend as well. Then Devin S, I'm really curious about how many reviewers are utilizing AI to generate material, whether it be a script or a journal review. Good question. Really good question. And that's the thing. I said a long time ago, Devin, that we're in a fourth industrial revolution, and it's AI. And that basically what AI is going to do is it's going to replace all but the very, very best or the most unique in what they do. So for example, let's say you have a chemist, right?
Well.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. You go with your example. I'll make my argument later.
Perfect. So, for example, let's say you have a chemist, and the chemist can do complex calculations all day long. Chemists can't do the calculations as well as the computer can do, however. So it doesn't mean there won't be any chemists left. What it means is only the chemists who are the absolute very best at out-of-the-box thinking, the things the machine can't do, that's the only chemist that will be left standing. And you can replicate that across games journalism. You can replicate that across, we used to say learn to code. We can't even say learn to code anymore because you're starting to see AI come in and just clean those jobs out. Except for the very best, the very brightest, or the people who have that unique spin on what they do. And it's devastating. That's why the UN says we're probably going to need some kind of universal base income for the estimated 85% of the entire world that will be out of work one day because of the AI revolution. It's a wild time.
Yeah.
You had some thoughts. I want to make sure we get your thoughts as well.
Oh, well, some thoughts are, I think definitely times are changing. I think AI is going to be more as a tool that people will be utilizing, like for both prompting ideas, like fixing grammatical issues and all the board. But I think I mentioned this. I'm a statistician. So when that started becoming more popularized with like big data and just utilizing computers, the idea was that like, why do you need a statistician if the computer could do it? But when it comes to like art, which I would say statistics is an art form, a computer can't replicate that. No matter how good the AI tech could be.
We're kind of seeing that.
So I think there's always going to be
Power World. We're kind of seeing that where it just literally just cobbled together assets. Like they may
exactly
have
like it can get a bit more sophisticated over time, but you're going to need people to rein it in and make it more presentable for a human audience.
Oh, 100%.
So I think there'll be some job openings and opportunities for that, an expansion in that field. So I wouldn't say like it's taking away all the jobs. It might create some new ones, and there might be new industries that people just have to go in towards, since the more like rudimentary kind of like data entry jobs or something like that are going to be
definitely
taken over by AI.
Yeah, won't take all the jobs.
So, but the issue though is the speed of it's happening. So that's why we're seeing a lot of job losses right now.
And I think that's.
But if it was a more gradual thing, I think it would be a good thing.
Yeah, it's the law of slow moving disasters. Humanity seems to have a 100% track record. As long as we can see what's coming and have enough time to respond, humanity does a very good job of preparing. Yes. So it's the law of slow moving disasters. But when something moves fast, when it moves too fast to do that, that's where we kind of find ourselves getting into trouble. And you're absolutely right.
And the pandemic definitely sped this up.
Yes.
But
you're going to
So
see.
it's when you have a disruptor like that, it's just I
Yeah,
think a recipe for chaos.
part of that adaptation is you are going to see entire new industries created. I absolutely agree with that.
Yes.
In the meantime, though, yeah, a lot of people out of jobs.
It's hard.
And it's going to be very hard, but we will get through it.
It's going to leave, a devastating impact too. Like if we do a universal income, people will rely on that, and it'll be harder to transition,
it's
or phase out of that.
And they're trying really hard not to. You can see it. They're trying real hard not to implement that because of that. They're trying. But we'll see. We'll see how fast.
A lot of reasons why, but
yes, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how well. Also, the fact that it's gonna. You think the inflation's bad now?
Yeah.
So, Tony's in the chat. My dad also got me into gaming. I remember playing Gauntlet on DOS with him a lot. Now, Tony, you might have just one up me in the old department, and that is a badge of honor, my friend. That's awesome. Dwarf needs.
Whenever you hear about Gauntlet, I think of Ready Player One.
Ready Player. Yeah, Dwarf needs food. Justin Jim says, I feel like I missed the boat on Freddy Fish. I hear that come up a lot.
Brendan,
never heard
you're not missing that much.
Yeah,
it's good for like a kid, but like beyond that, no.
Yeah,
it's not that much.
It's okay. It was okay.
Like it gets you just like as a kid to start, thinking about things. Like I think it definitely helped me become a bit more like better with math and like problem solving. So it's definitely helped me, I think, in my career to be, starting early with games, but Freddy the Fish doesn't have to be everyone's gateway.
Yeah, Freddy the Fish is a good gateway. If you're an adult, I'm going to go ahead and use this as an opportunity to plug a book for people because a lot of folks, and Tony, you'll like this because you're a philosophizer like me, so you'll enjoy this. But, people always tell me, like, I'm just not good at math. I just don't like math. I said, okay, do you like philosophy? And a lot of those people will say, well, yeah, I like philosophy. Okay. You like philosophy, but you don't like math. Math is the absolution of philosophy. Math is one question, one answer. Philosophy is infinite questions, infinite answers. So if you don't like math and your reason is it's hard, how the fuck do you like philosophy? Like, and that kind of.
What's funny is I'm the reverse of this. I don't like philosophy, but I like math.
But okay. So, but that makes more sense. That makes more sense because math has a solution. There is no solution in philosophy.
Well, as a statistician, I wouldn't say there's solutions, but we have, a confidence interval. We understand variation and probabilities, so they're better.
Okay, so and enlighten me a little bit on that. So, solution, kind of a dirty word, but things like variable probability, which are, while not set in stone, give you a good parameters by which to operate, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, we're not disappointed if something doesn't work out. Like we had a 1 in something chance of this working out. We understand that like gambling doesn't make sense from like the house always wins. Regression to the mean is a big thing that I take away from, understanding like some things kind of err, but it eventually progresses.
If
gambling, I don't know how to describe it. It's difficult I've had difficulty expressing some of these concepts with people who don't necessarily, are involved with it 24/7 like I am.
Sure.
But I think it gives you a different view of life, of like variation, outliers, and that kind of thing.
Well, I just find it fascinating. And another book, kind of to give people kind of a crash course on what we're discussing, because, it can be a lot to deal with. Another good one, William Poundstone, The Recursive Universe, is one I find that's really, really useful. Mm-hmm. And he talks about things like variance, Fibonacci sequence, how you can see patterns repeated, even if they vary in what they do. Very, very interesting book that kind of goes over a lot of that stuff in terms of showing you different variations, different probabilities, how things can be laid out one way and kind of operate under a similar circumstances, things laid out a completely different way. Pattern recognition, all good stuff. Yeah. Another book I want to recommend.
But when it comes to when it comes to like probabilities and variation, I think that's also why I'm not necessarily there doesn't have to be one size fits all or one solution, because there is that variation. And I think this is not necessarily a conclusion a lot of people make just off the cuff.
Mhm.
Because people usually they like to have some explanation for why something is. If there's A, therefore there's B. But
Well,
there's all these other, factors that come in that can disrupt things, or even for example, like correlation does not equal causation. And
there's
epi,
there's a fan
it's a motto I also go by.
there's a fantastic piece of literature called the Foundation trilogy by Isaac Asimov.
Mhm. Yeah.
And one of the things he talks about is the mule. Are you familiar with the mule?
No, but I'm familiar with the trilogy.
Yeah.
I haven't read
So
it, but
yeah. So long story short, the founder of the Foundation Society develops a society where he literally, and you'll laugh at this, especially as a statistician, but he basically accounts for every variable over the next 1,000 years. And he's able to basically chart the course of civilization, and they're successful in doing it. However, there's a character called the Mule, and the Mule is literally a fucking mutant. The guy can literally impact and basically mind control the people he's around. And this Black Swan event basically makes the entire Foundation fall. It's a variable that he could not account for.
Got a confounder there.
Huh?
You got a confounder there.
Yep, it's something that absolutely cannot be accounted for. And that's one of the principles you're talking about, is you cannot possibly account for everything. There's those Black Swan events that show up. 100%.
Yeah. It's part of the distribution. You just have them on the tail ends. They're unlikely to happen, but they do happen.
They do happen, and then you have to just new plan. And that's the other thing. Even if your solution is enacted and it's correct, that's going to create infinitely more problems that need more solutions. And it's just a constantly you're never going to
flawed system.
You're never going to dust your hands and be done. Ever. Never going to happen.
Right.
And that's one of the things I talk about too. I love to throw out, and everybody's going to be able to take two shots on this, but I love to throw out two concepts that I think work together. I call it kind of the anti-civilization equation. And it's a number called Dunbar's number combined with Ashby's law of requisite variety, right? And are you familiar with those concepts?
Yes, after you've been talking about, sorry, my laptop's about to die.
Uh-oh. Give us one moment, folks, and then we'll get into all that.
Not sure why it's dying, though. It's plugged in. What is wrong?
It wouldn't be a Liquored Up Live if one of us didn't have technical difficulties. So do not feel out of place. It's part of the show.
Okay, I think it's okay.
All right.
I'm just wondering if, because I had the camera plugged in too, if it's just eating up more power than it should be. But I think
battery,
it's okay.
Yeah. So one of the things I talk about, and it's any system, whether it's video games, whether it's corporations, whether it's government, the fact that there's too many variables, there's not enough controlling mechanisms, in order to reach a systematic homeostasis. And so what ultimately ends up happening is, once you have those variables that are more than you're controlling, it's a debunk of bureaucracy in general. And all of our systems are built on bureaucracy because it's the only way we know how to do anything. The only thing we know how to do everything is to say, hey, we have a few people that kind of monitor and control each situation. And it doesn't work because what happens is those variables overwhelm the controlling mechanisms. So I don't know how to deal with that. I wouldn't be talking on fucking YouTube. If I did, I'd be sitting on a mountain somewhere. But meditating. But I don't know. It just seems like I guess kind of what we're saying is everything ends, everything decays, everything fails. Enjoy your time while you can. But your thoughts on that?
I think that sums it up well.
Yeah.
Live for today. YOLO.
Yeah. Now,
but also ensure that you'll have some survival down the line.
Yeah, and again, make sure. Don't. Yeah. When I talk about being an anarchistic nihilist, I'm not telling you, fuck it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that reality trends toward decay, essentially.
That's how the universe, I think. Evolves.
Yep, in immense.
But we just have to enjoy the moments for what little bit of time we have here.
Yeah, I'm not advocating being Kefka and just being like, fuck it all. I'm just saying that immense burst of energy, and that energy decays over a period of 4 billion years or however long this fucking place has been spinning. So Yeah, there. Now I'm getting now I'm becoming a philosophizer again. So, all right, on to the next thing. So, I'll just have to ask my mom where she found it. I have no idea how it got in our house. Talking about Freddy Fish. However it got there, just be proud. It's
You'll be in the clearance section at the drugstore.
Clearance section at the drugstore is our best guess. Math Blaster Devin S says yes. Yes. Title is misspelled, Zoo. Of course it is. Of course it's misspelled. Have you ever seen me on fucking Twitter? I will fix it.
I misspell things all the time.
Yeah.
I've just given up.
I will fix it in post, but thanks, Z-Man. I greatly appreciate that. You don't know there's a problem, and probably never would have got fixed without you pointing it out. So thanks, brother. Thanks for looking out. Miss Mandia says, I love Dark Cloud. A lot of guys seem to have loved Dark Cloud. It is one of the first things, I promise Bash, if and when I get a DVD player, and I really need to, it's going to be one of the first things that I play. 100%. I'm looking forward to it.
It's very affordable now. I've been actually trying to grab a copy for myself, just to at least complete my childhood collection I used to have.
Nice. Now,
it's a goal of mine.
Now,
I don't know when. But.
Now, was there other games that you remember from your childhood collection you want to shout out?
How many? There's a lot that I have or that I don't have.
That you don't have.
Let's see. I'm missing some of the Ratchet and Clank games as well as the cases for the Jack games. Mm-hmm. Those were big favorites of mine.
Okay.
Definitely Dark Cloud 1 and 2. I think we sold our copy of Fur Fighters, which is an odd one. It's not very good, but my brother and I played the co-op of that. It was fun.
Oh no, the internet has scrambled my brain on that. Fur Fighters. That sounds.
It's not good. I think our uncle gave it to us for Christmas one year, okay. But it was so bad. We played it a lot, and the co-op was.
Okay.
You played as these creepy animals, and you had to go rescue babies or something. I don't know. We just did the co-op version. I don't think we did much of the story mode at all. We just tried to shoot each other out. We did a lot of shooting, first person and third person shooting games, especially with my dad. He wasn't a console person, but on the PC we played a lot of Return to Castle Wolfenstein.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
We did a ton of multiplayer for that. I still remember all the different maps that we did.
Calling an air
and then eventually we did ET as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Upper Nimbus says, "Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Doing well." And that reminds me, just out of nowhere, I forgot to ask because Rush Dog would be slapping my hand. I am drinking Midleton's. It's an Irish whiskey tonight. Emily, what you drinking?
Some H2O.
H2O. You're in the Water and Kool-Aid Club, which is a big club. Don't feel bad. You're in there with OJ, so you're in good company.
I don't buy alcohol. If I go out to a restaurant for a social event, I'll get something on draft, but I don't really like alcohol.
A lot of folks don't. Yeah.
I don't know if this is also because I work in chronic disease and it's a risk factor for some things. So just in the back of my mind, I'm I don't need this.
Yeah, I definitely need
in limited quantity, it doesn't matter.
If
it's in moderate, it's fine. You don't have to worry about cancer or anything if it's moderate. Alcohol, I don't think you're in the dangerous range. You would know if you had alcohol poisoning and all that.
Oh no, I don't get that shit fixed.
An addiction, I don't think you're there.
No,
so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, okay. But over 400 games. What a wild man. Yeah, I don't know how it fucking happened since my whole life I've maybe been lucky to have 20 games for a console. The Switch just took me, man. The Switch is an amazing little system.
It's me too. It's my largest collection.
100%. And then
and I have 100 games on my wish list right now. I'm how am I going to narrow you down? I shouldn't get a whole 100 of you.
Well, you've done pretty well in terms of one of your strategies in terms of the game auditing, which I'm doing too now. Pretty proud of myself so far. If you count the games that shipped from last year, which you shouldn't because it's 2024 on it, but even doing that, I've only got 11 so far all year.
Well, that's great. I've been fine. Not very many either, but that's for multiple reasons. But I've been pretty good.
Yeah, and there are a lot of reasons. For one, limited run games doesn't accept PayPal anymore, so that basically takes them off my list. I'll if they come to Video Games Plus, okay, maybe. Like, so,
Yeah, I'm thinking of waiting for Pentiment. That's about to expire on their pre-order, so I'm thinking of just waiting for Video Games Plus. I feel like that shouldn't be too difficult to get.
No, and I'm gonna have Penitence one. I'm gonna have one way or the other. Peniment, I'm getting that one way or the other. So if it doesn't come to Video Games Plus, I guess I'm just paying $60-$70. Fuck it. Like, I will have that game, but I'm not gonna.
VGP pre-orders everything. I don't think you have to worry about it at that point. It's just a question of what quantity they ordered. Right. So you have to kind of be checking. Right now, I'm actually waiting for one. What's it called? The one with animals, and there's like a storybook thing. Gosh.
Animals storybook. I probably have it. It's a Switch game. I probably have it.
Okay. It hasn't released yet, I think, at Video Games Plus, but I think it may have released for those who ordered directly.
Gotcha. Allie says, damn, I won't even admit how many I have. Allie, I think you have more than me. We'll put it that way. I think you got me beat, which is saying something. 90 says, doing all right. How's it going, Upper Nimbus? Upper Nimbus says, I'm good, man, just working. 90 says, I thought I had a lot, over 100. Yeah, over 100 is a lot of video games. Don't sell yourself short, 90s. Do not sell yourself short. And like Allie says, any amount is a great amount.
Like, I don't think, a collection doesn't have to have a quantifiable amount. No. I think as long as you're proud of it and you are satisfied with the games you have, I think that's great.
Exactly.
Honestly, I think I need to trim some of mine. I actually got to talk about my new Switch video. I'm hoping to release sometime this week.
Gotcha. Heard it here first. So Emily's got some content coming, so maybe it'll inspire me to get off my ass.
Leave it slowly. It's been a rough couple of weeks for me, trying to find time for content.
Well, I haven't got back on the horse since since vacation, and then I come back from vacation, the PC fucking take a shit on me. So I need to get back on it for sure.
You have a good excuse. My excuse is I'm just exhausted from work, and then I'm transitioning to a new job next month.
There's that too.
Congratulations. There's going to be some overlap, and it's going to be awful.
Yeah, well, congrats on that, by the way. I'm glad you're able to land somewhere during this, so that's good times. So
same. It's more of a transition, like it's a transition job. It's not going to be a permanent one, but
right.
And then Mandy got the game I was looking for, Beacon Pines. Yes, that one.
Beacon Pines. Oh, coolness! Yeah, because I missed Beacon Pines myself. That's the one. I missed that one.
Yeah.
So when that comes,
I have to just be on the lookout for it.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, Mandy, and thank you, Emily, because I need that one.
I think that one's going to sell out quickly, so I need to be on it.
Yeah, that's one of the ones.
They post it.
Yeah, it's one of the ones I missed, and that was just a literal oops. I missed it. I meant to get it. That was before the PayPal fiasco.
That one I was eyeing, but there's something else I wanted to put in my cart because I feel weird just buying one and paying for shipping for one game.
Shipping, yeah, it's out. Yeah.
That's yeah.
And then Allie says, yeah, reviewing games is tough, takes up all your time. Yeah, especially because I like to do it right. Like I want to, and I know you're the same way. So basically I've got to come up with, what I want to say. Then it's got to write, then a rewrite, then another rewrite. And I think
well, you script your videos. That must be so time consuming. I don't even do that, but
Persona 5 is on like its fifth fucking write, in terms of the rewrite. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's, but that's going to be a fascinating one. I can't wait to kind of explore that one. That's going to be a good one. And then the Xenoblade one is done. I just need to get it to video and get that going. For
the Cycle game?
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Yeah, Nick Squick's been on me he talked me into trying that again because I tried. Funny story on Xenoblade 2. Tried it, fucking hated it. The combat, dropped it. Everybody told me, get back on the horse, man. You gotta give it a try. You gotta give it time. Here's a couple YouTube videos that tell you how to play the game, which I thought was fucking ridiculous. But then I still think it's fucking ridiculous for what it's worth that you have to go to a YouTuber to show you how to play a game. Really, Monolith Soft?
Sad, I agree.
But it was worth it. It was worth it. It was 100% worth it. Those characters are so good.
Yeah.
So good.
It's one of my favorite games on the Switch, hands down.
Me too. Absolutely. What's up, my friends? Hey, Glenn, welcome aboard. Hope you're enjoying the chat so far. We do this every once in a while with a lot of really cool people. So, yeah, feel free to stop by anytime, man. Upper Nimbus says, "Oh, really? Damn, just exhausting work you do." I'm not sure who you're talking to, but I think the answer for both is yes.
Yes.
I spend way too much fucking time at work, especially lately. I don't know if it's been a permanent full moon lately, but fuck. Business has been rough.
I have the luxury of working from home.
Me too.
But
Me too.
I can't get my mind off work. And then with my postdoc wrapping up, I don't want to finish some projects before I officially leave. So I feel like it's crunch time.
Well,
and then I was traveling too for some conference stuff, and I have one actually in April. I still need to prepare for.
Dealing with the airplane travel is such a pain in the ass. That's not a fun part of the job.
All the Boeing stuff too is scary.
Yeah. Yeah, can't put a fucking plane in the air anymore. Can't.
No.
Like, yep. So every time it's like, okay, here we go. Like, yeah. Just hate waking up early. Haha. Yeah, it's hit or miss for me. Some days I'm up early. Some days I really don't want to get out of bed. It just depends.
Yeah, I start work at 7 a.m. because most of my coworkers are on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast.
Yeah.
So I try to overlap some hours. But
well, that's another peeps who are in like business, like on a national level. You got to keep track of like 4 time zones for sure. Got to keep track.
Oh,
of
yeah.
It. 100%. So it's like when I call somebody, like when I call a client, or when I call, it's like, okay, wait a second, wait, okay, they're in California.
Have you done any 1 a.m. calls?
I've done 2 international calls. Yeah, I've done 2 international calls, both to Japan. And I've got one set up for South Korea, probably in the next 2 months. So yeah, and that's one of the negatives. Like, yeah, we work from home, but in my particular position, I'm kind of the same way. I don't have the luxury to not think about work all day, because it's largely my baby at this point.
Yeah, so, I tried to play games to turn my brain off, or
without doxing myself,
or read some books, but still, yes, sometimes you just can't avoid it.
Yeah, 100%. So Upper Nimbus says, "Oh right, that's never fun." About working up early. Devin S says 1 DoorDash equals price of 1 game. Food for thought. I think that's for most people. I think that's a great rule of thumb to think of, and I probably should stop DoorDashing as much as I do. Again, I'm not as much worried about the financial, is worried about the waistline and the arteries. But in general, DoorDash is always something to be mindful of. I did a DoorDash audit on myself a few years back, and by DoorDash audit, that's just pulling up my PayPal and looking at the total amount I spent with that particular vendor. I don't recommend that. Although it might be what I need to get off the DoorDash, so maybe I'll get brave and do that tonight.
Yeah, if you track it like the gaming audit, maybe that'll help.
Well, I mean, with PayPal, you just have to say, hey, how much money have I given this vendor this year?
Yeah. Right, but I find that when you record it, like in a spreadsheet or something, it's just, you see it there rather than pull it up.
Yes.
I think it helps. And then there's some psychology in that.
Well, and it's not quite as
it's how I like to budget too.
Well, it's not quite as heart attack inducing. I gave them how much? That might
right.
help.
Unless you have like a running tally there, and every time you enter a number, it goes up.
Yeah. Hey guys, hope you're all good. Hey, what's going on, Inferno Fox? Welcome in. Doing great. It's been a great night so far. 90 saying sup Ferno Fox. Nimbus saying sup Ferno Fox. Then Scorpio says, "Oh man, Emily, you've got to see Madoka Magica."
I'll add to the list. We'll see.
Yeah.
Even if you talk about it, it's okay if I'm
Scorpio Caesar says, "Take a shot." He said macroeconomics. Yeah, everybody take a shot. We need to get the Liquored Up Live bingo cards redistributed again that Rush Dog put out. Those are pretty.
Shuffle it around.
Yeah, those are pretty funny. Those are pretty funny. It's like, oh god, I do talk about all that shit all the time.
Wow. So, I hear macroeconomics all the time with my family, so it's not.
Okay. Yeah. So it's not too alien.
Not too dissimilar here.
Okay.
No. So, I grew up under an economist, so.
Oh. Okay.
My dad's an economist, so.
Really? If
In
you don't,
macro econ specifically.
oh my God, if you don't mind, after the stream, not now because we're live and it's on that Discord stream, but shoot me a name if you don't mind. It's up to you. I would love to look into his work. That's my field, man.
Yeah, he's published.
Beautiful.
I'll let
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, how I'd love to talk to him.
Honestly, if you're on the same page as him, he'd love to talk to you.
Okay.
Like, I think you are.
Well, yeah, it's just like, and one of the things I always kind of flipping the macroeconomics, Tony says. Well, yeah, one of the things that drives me nuts about the way game sales are counted and bragged about, like I'm sure you've heard it, is like it's like you motherfuckers, you can't direct comparisons across time is useless. I hate that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you need a time series for sure if you want to analyze time-related data.
Yes.
But even then, all models are flawed. All data's flawed.
Especially the basic bitch one I use. Like, I'm sure you can take a look at that and see all kinds of things with it. That's why I tell people, I've told Caesar, hey, this is only to show the concept of why what they're doing is flawed. This is not a perfect way. Because, yeah, you need, not only do you have to adjust for time, you have to adjust for what was the economy like then. Versus now, you have to adjust for things like multi-console ownership, gamers growing up having more disposable income. If you go way back to like
covariances and all that.
Yes. if you go way back to like the NES days, now you've got to adjust for closed markets, cold markets, the Iron Curtain. The
thing is, when you make those models, there's so many other elements that are missed. Like, that's why the models are never perfect.
Right.
Even if you insert all the variables that
exactly.
we have data on.
And that's why
I still don't have everything.
And that's why I'm always very honest. And I say the only point I'm making is that they're full of shit. That's the only point I'm making.
Yeah.
So when Nintendo shows up and says that this Metroid game is the best-selling Metroid game, no, it's not. You're full of shit. Because OG Metroid sold.
It's all marketing.
Yes, it's for the investors. It's for the fucking investors. Exactly. It's for the gullible investors. To say, look at what we did.
Like businesses, I think they have a better idea of what they're doing. They just don't tell us.
Yeah,
reasonable, but still.
Yes, congratulations. Metroid Dread sold almost 3 million copies in 2024. And OG Metroid sold 2.72 in 1988. Congratulations. You still haven't beat that game. Anyway. I'm
behind on all the Metroids. I started the remake on the 3DS. I got like halfway, got stuck, then I put it down. Maybe someday I'll pick it back up again. The Samus Returns one.
Samus Returns, yeah, which I hear good things about. Like I hear really good things about.
It was good. I just got stuck and I got a little frustrated. So
that is a common occurrence for Metroid.
I'll have to pick it up again.
I will say this, Emily: if Metroid is frustrating you, it's doing its job. It's doing its job.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
My criticism of a game like Super Metroid, as good as it is that it's too fucking easy. Metroid's supposed to be hard. Metroid's supposed to be complicated. It's supposed to be It's supposed to be that hard game. It's supposed to be that hardcore Nintendo game. That's its job. So
you think it's the most hardcore IP that they have?
At this point,
it's talking about difficulty level.
If you don't count third parties like Bayonetta, yes. Yeah, I think Bayonetta is a little bit more technical, and like just Bayonetta 2 is a goddamn masterpiece. But in terms of like difficulty, yeah, Metroid Dread's pretty tough to top. They did a good job with Dread. And Tony says an important thing to remember is that this isn't true, quote unquote, AI. They're large language models. They aren't intelligent. Yeah, you got that fucking right. You ever tried to talk to one and make it do anything? Like, yeah. Like, I put it this.
At GDP help edit my cover letter.
Okay. Well, you can do it. I'm just saying that. I'm just saying.
It's not the end all be all.
Making AI do what you want it is going to be a skill in and of itself, like Emily talked about. There's going to be new markets open up. There's going to be people that are really good at making these language models work well. But yeah, you're right. You're right, Tony. At the end of the day, it's all linguistics. It's all linguistics, which is a whole other field that I'm also fascinated by. So you got to come on at some point and talk philosophy and linguistics with me. Like that would be. I think that'd be a fun show.
You can also convert me to be the philosopher mind.
I will try. I can certainly try. But what I always tell people is that people may not like philosophy, and may find that the philosophers themselves are dry. Here's a spoiler alert: they fucking are. There's a reason why there's a few experts that read their books and then disseminate that to the public, and nobody else fucking reads their shit. There's a reason why nobody has read Friedrich Nietzsche. It's because it's dry as fuck. There's a reason why nobody's read Michel Foucault. He's dry as fuck. Philosophers tend to not be good writers. It's very rare to have a philosopher that's also a good writer. Very rare. And so you have to struggle through a lot of it.
I think my struggle is I like data-backed ideas. That's not philosophy.
Well,
in a lot of respects. I'm sure there are exceptions. However, I think a lot of philosophers, like, I guess you could do simulations, but simulations are kind of still sketchy because you put your own parameters in.
Definitely.
But
that's why anybody who ever says, like, I have a simulation that shows something, I'm like, yeah, well, that's nice.
That's nothing.
That's nice.
Yeah. Or I conducted the survey.
Right.
Survey stuff is especially like psychological surveys. Anyway.
We write the report. What's right? How's that lyric go? In the immortal words of Run the Jewels, we write the report. What we write is what's right. So you got to be careful of report. You got to be careful of that stuff. There's always an author. There's always an author. There's always bias. So Caesar says that if we're not using AI to help cure diseases or cancer, then it's pointless. Well, why would they do that, Caesar?
We are. We're definitely using AI for that.
So Emily,
as someone in that field.
Okay, well that's well, I'm sure you have all the well-meaning in the world, but are your bosses as well-meaning? That's my question as an anarchist.
Sorry.
Oh, I said I'm sure you're very well-meaning, but are your bosses as well-meaning?
I see. You mean the about curing cancer?
Yeah.
There's a lot of other. Because I work in epidemiology, we don't necessarily do, the etiology or anything with that. It's more of what subgroups in the population are maybe not receiving the same care, like what disparities are there. If there's something with our health system that can improve things and outcomes.
I think there's
a lot of things that I don't necessarily agree with everything, but yeah.
Right. I think a big old yes to that question for sure. Like, is there a way? There's always great ways you can improve. I will say our healthcare system, we can definitely improve.
Yes.
There are so many inadequacies in that. Holy shit.
What I do mostly is to kind of find, like, data-backed evidence to help maybe improve, like, outcomes that can be positioned in, like, politics, which gets a little bit murky, too.
Sure. Well, one of the things I've always
like legislative kind of changes.
Right. Well, one thing I've always talked about is there's no incentive structure to save money. So because the insurance company is kind of the money man, there's no incentive except to bill them as much as you possibly can. And so there's no incentive structure.
Yeah,
there's no incentive structure for the customer to go and save money. The customer's going to go wherever they go because everybody charges the same. There's no transparency in pricing. So, like, one of the things I've kind of floated, and this is within the American healthcare system. Keep it in mind for folks that may be listening from across seas. But like,
that's a little different.
Yeah.
But there's some overlap.
Yeah. If there was a way to, for example, let's say I go to, for example, Springfield MRI and Imaging Center instead of going to blank hospital, right? Let's say that I look on a price transparency sheet and they're charging less at this hospital. Okay. And they're charging $800 for a CAT scan here and $1,200 for a CAT scan here. I should be able to go to that, have that done, and there should be some kind of savings passed on to me for being the customer that goes to get that cheaper scan. And there's not. There's no incentive. I can't
see transparency.
I can't see what they charge. And there's no way for me to communicate to my insurance company that I just saved them $400 on that. Like, there's on no level is there any way to track or incorporate savings into any kind of incentive structure. So,
well, with the insurance policy, it's supposed to encompass everyone, not the individual necessarily.
True.
So
true.
It's all kind of you kind of pay for other people in a sense.
Right. Shared risk.
Our flawed system.
Yeah. Shared risk. Yeah.
Yes.
Shared risk pool. Yeah. 100%. My workplace wants to
There are
incorporate.
exceptions with like Medicaid expansion and stuff here in the US, but it's still very limiting how it's
Yeah.
structured right now, and not all the states have that. But yeah.
Well, and I'm not advocating like gutting HIPAA or anything like that, so please note that. But I was
Well,
told.
HIPAA is different. That's data privacy.
Well, it's
But
different,
anyway.
but it's intertwined. And my friend floated me an idea that I'm not necessarily sure I'm happy with, but he was like, here, Sue, check this out, man. What if you could opt out and have all of your data shared across studies when you go to get a scan? Maybe you get 2 scans, and that data be used to share with everybody that way, and you pay for healthcare with that instead of money. And I'm like,
A lot of the health systems right now, they have people's data that they use to analyze. So
they're already set. You're already doing. You're not.
who would you be sharing? Like I've
Okay.
used electronic health records for my own studies.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But,
Like your health records are supposed to be private due to HIPAA, but are they really one? Is it not something you can?
Well, when I get as an outsider, I can pay a lot of money to have access to some records, but they're all they don't have a what do you call it? Why am I blanking on the term? Like I don't know their name or where they're from, or sometimes even their age, depending on some
Gotcha.
It's de-identified.
Gotcha.
De-identified.
But the people have access to the actual data itself already. So
yeah.
So,
just the issue, it's a lot of compatibility. Like a lot of the US systems, they have different systems. So like they don't have the best records in some areas, especially in rural areas. More urban areas, we have a bit better with data. But again, there's also an access issue. Like you have to pay a lot of money to like work with like Kaiser and tap into their system unless you work for Kaiser. Anyway.
So they're double selling.
There's definitely an issue with data sharing, and that's why a lot of like experts in my field, they have to write these huge grant proposals to get a lot of money from the government to conduct studies on this topic.
But, I'll tell you,
and only investigating things the government wants to fund.
Yeah,
which is another issue.
Ashby's Law, well, it plays. What that sounds like to me.
Yeah.
My workplace wants to incorporate AI as well. Yeah, get used to it, everybody, because it's going to be more and more.
It's unfortunate. We're going to see that more on YouTube. It's going to be everywhere.
Oh, we already are. Like, you'll click on some anime video, and it'll be like, oh, this person, it sounds like an interesting story, and immediately you start to hear the AI voiceover. It's like, out. Like, yeah,
well, you'll see it in other ways, like writing scripts. Like, it might be voiced by a real person, but anyway.
I'm too fucking set in my ways.
A lot of ways you could use it.
I'm way too
pulling out images from the internet. They'll incorporate that in their videos.
You got to be careful though. People are actually getting in a lot of trouble for that. Did you see the legal precedent where there were some lawyers that were using AI to research cases, and the AI is there to please. It's not necessarily there to do the best research. And so these fuckers literally used AI to pull case studies for their case. And they literally went before a judge and used this with precedent. Yes, they used it as precedent. The judge is like, nope, case dismissed because that's not a real case. The AI made up a case. It has made up a court case. Like
that's pretty bad that they didn't. It sounds lazy.
If that was my fucking lawyer, they'd have a lawsuit of their own. I'll tell you, that's crazy. But so be careful with the AI, guys. It's a good tool, but again, it's a tool that you need.
It's a tool, but not.
It's not a stand-in for actual work.
Yeah.
Anyone here play the educational jumpstart games? Caesar says. I haven't, but
nope,
me neither. But you have to tell us a little bit about that. So Tony says no. Emily doesn't like philosophy. Broken heart. Emily likes philosophy, but it's just that there's a different spin you and I have to put on it. We will convert her to the dark side,
Probably.
Tony. We just got to figure out.
There's some aspects I like and appreciate. However, I don't like arguing in philosophy terms,
Right.
Like, I feel like that could just be endless loop.
Oh, it is.
Anyway.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is. When Tony and I talk, it's going to be an 8-hour discussion, and we'll get nowhere at the end. It's going to be amazing. But philosophers will tell you that's an amazing night. It's kind of like in the Persian nations, Iran and other nations such as that are of Persian origin. They had a thing where anytime something became policy in the old tribal traditions, they would have to argue the same argument twice. They would argue once academically, and then they would argue the next one at a bar over alcohol. And it had to make sense both ways before it was enacted into policy. In some of the Persian, the old Persian traditions. That was a classic way to do that. Yeah. And that's no shit. They would do that. So very, very fun. Have to make sense drunk. Has to make sense not academically, in order for them to even consider it further. So, that's kind of what it is like to be a philosopher. Basically, you sit there, you have a great night over drinks, get nowhere, but feel very, very happy. So the Great Wah says, I joined late, but two great content creators. Well, why? I appreciate that, but you mean one great content creator? Because I'm just getting started, homie. I don't do too much yet. Aside from this shit, but I would say that applies.
Tonight wouldn't have been possible without your content.
I guess that's true. I guess that is true. So I guess, yeah, I tend to not consider this particular thing content, but I guess it is. This is just me talking with friends. Just a live talk with friends usually, but people seem to enjoy it.
That's definitely content.
So 90s Handheld Gamer says, autocorrect misspell stuff for me all the time. I wonder if it's just an Android problem. I refuse to switch to iPhone, though. I'm stuck in my old man ways. Yeah, 90s, for me, it's not, I wouldn't call it, I'm not going to blame it on the technology. It's that I'm fucking lazy and I don't spell check. Problem is what it is. But we'll fix it in post, for sure. And then Nimbus says, I'm an Android man as well. I think I have Android. I don't fucking know it.
If you don't have an iPhone, you have Android.
I have Android. Okay. So, alrighty. And then 90 says, good man, Nimbus. And then says, I live off water. Yeah. Water is always like, you should try to drink as much water as possible. Yeah, 100%.
Just don't overdose, otherwise you drown.
That's good.
There are people who drink too much water and they end up drowning. It's sad.
Why?
They detox a little too much.
Okay. That's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. I work with death records.
Interesting. Okay.
My work could be a little morbid.
I don't think I'm in danger of that, but
no.
I don't think I drink enough water most of the time. Cold and frosty water is the best. Yeah, that what is it?
Mine has to be chilled for sure.
Oh yeah. Lukewarm water is best. Then the Plucky Squire maybe, and well, we figured it out though. It was Beacon Pines.
Yes.
And then
the Plucky Squire, I'm excited for it too. They haven't announced a physical yet for that.
Yeah,
so I'm curious how that'll go.
Need the physical. Come on, Beacon Pines. I want your game to.
It'll have a physical. I think most of the highly anticipated games will get a physical, at least a print on demand.
I hope so. I really have confidence that the Plucky Squire will exist someday. So
yeah,
I sure hope it does.
They've just delayed it, I think, to make it better, which I think I'm all for personally. There's so many games, I don't need something right away.
Right.
So they could take their time.
Make it good.
Yeah, make it complete on cart. I'm all for that.
Yeah, because again, Miyamoto's still not wrong. I refuse to say that he's wrong. A game delayed can be a good game. A game that's bad is bad forever. And you will see that with my review of the Batman games. That's a different story because I'm only really reviewing one because the other two, just for some reason, Warner Brothers chose to leave the other two off my disc. So my review basically is going to be me trying to boot the game up and it not booting and telling me to do a download, and that's going to be the fucking review of those other two games. I'm going to rake them over the coals on that. But the Batman Arkham Asylum is a fine game. I just wish I had the other two.
I feel it there. I avoided that collection because of that.
Fucking terrible. And again,
so, I never played the first game, so maybe it's worth getting just deeply discounted.
Deeply discounted, yeah. So 1/3 of its value, because that's what pissed me off.
Yeah.
My parents got it for me for Christmas, so they didn't know because they don't know about this kind of shit, and so they just oh, he likes Batman, that'll be a good Christmas gift, and it was, but it double pisses me off because it wasn't my money that got spent. It was my family's money that got spent with those assholes.
That's what makes me so upset about the code and box stuff that's targeted towards kids. It's just their grandparents or their parents will buy it for them. It's so wrong.
It's so fucking wrong, man.
Especially that Fortnite stuff. I'm like, no.
Yeah, no,
what are you
that's
doing?
evil. Absolutely evil.
It's so evil.
I've been debating getting that Castlevania Advance Collection from VGP. I do have it. Belmont would yell at me if I didn't have it. I haven't played it yet, but I really want to play all three of those.
I've been eyeing it too, though I just don't know when I'll get around to it.
Right.
So
it's one of those things where
it's my predicament right now.
Like, is it just gonna sit around like
Yeah. And you can always emulate because those are the GBA games, right?
Yeah. Always
emulate those.
You can always, yeah.
So like I bought all these other sort of handhelds. I could just play them on there. But yeah, I don't know.
Now, same 90, he says, I want it, man, but the timing sucks, Caesar says. Now, Tony says, fun fact about Pentiment, the director is Josh Sawyer, who did IW2, Fallout New Vegas, Pillars of Eternity. Oh, Fallout New Vegas. Wow.
Yeah.
And he got his degree from Lawrence University, just across the street from the library I worked at. Fallout New Vegas is probably cool. Yeah, New Vegas. I've never put Pillars of Eternity or IWD2. But Fallout New Vegas, easily in the top 10
I watched my brother play that a lot.
Best writing of all time. Like it's in the running for best writing in a video game. The way they wrote that world it's up there with the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. It is neck and neck, and that is a hell of a thing for me to tell anybody. It is an incredible. That's a ride, man. Absolutely one of the greatest PC games of all time. Not even close. So that's cool as hell, Tony. 90 says the over 100 is just backlog. Ha ha ha. Yeah, I'm over 400. So I feel you. Like at some point, as a 90-year-old man, my project will be completed. Like,
well, we've been slowing down our game collecting, so I think that gives us more opportunity to
right. And also I'm not moving forward into the next generation, so that's going to help me too. Like I'm taking a generation.
You do say this now, though. I am curious if things will change, because sometimes things change.
We'll see. Yeah, because again, people say, "Well, but Zoo, you said this."
You might be surprised.
Well, it's just like I was supposed to kill the channel at 150 subs. I was supposed to kill the fucking channel.
Well, whenever we make these grand, like, I'll just do it until this. You always have to move the goalpost because we're never satisfied once we reach that point.
Well,
I've noticed this in my collecting. Like, people say, okay, I just need these handful of games and I'll be done collecting forever. But you always move that goalpost.
Well, for me, especially
time and time again for all hobbies.
Well, on the channel, I've been seeing like just blow after blow as far as just watching. Basically, it's like all these million-plus content creators. Not that I'm anywhere near that or ever will be, or any of us may. I mean, that's hard, but just seeing how
many. It's really hard.
Just seeing how many people take the parasocial to their heads and become pieces of shit, basically. And it's not good. It's not good. I don't think
it's sad. We're magnifying these outliers because I don't think as a whole most people are like this, but whenever they are people, like just like on the news, when you hear about these awful things that happen, those are always let's be magnified in the news. Never the resolutions or
that's
the good
a fair
things.
Point. Yeah, and maybe I'm just looking for negativity, but
we're in a bubble right now.
Yeah, I just worry that I would become like that if I got too big.
I think if you're conscious about it, at least on this level, I don't think it'll necessarily reach that point.
Well, I don't think.
I think a lot of those people probably didn't think about that.
I don't think I'll get big enough to reach that point, to be honest. But
I won't either.
But it's concerning. I would never.
It's something to be thoughtful about. Yeah, I think as long as you're conscious about it, I think that's a positive.
Definitely, yeah. It always helps to know there's a problem, and it always it's one of those things where I ask myself, and I've kind of talked about this before. Because I don't think YouTube is good for us. Because even if we do genuinely I did this not to get any social clout, but to kind of talk and share my excitement with the games I love and the things I want to talk about with other people. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I feel like there's something. It's almost like I don't know, arrogance. Like maybe why do I think that my YouTube opinions why do I have to go out and tell everybody about this? There's always that thought in the back of your head that there's kind of something
Well,
rotten in me. I don't know.
this transcends YouTube though. Like if you wrote a blog or if you wrote an article, like why does your voice need to be heard above others? I think you could say that for about anything.
You absolutely can. Yeah, for sure.
So I think regarding YouTube though, I think having some self-awareness and a little humility or humbleness
stay humble.
Goes a long way.
Gotta stay humble. Yeah. 100%. That's why you'll hear me. It's almost like an admonition. Every once in a while, you'll hear me say, like, I'm just a fucking YouTuber, and there's a reason for that.
Well, that's what we are.
That's me.
We just have an opinion and
just trying to stay humble.
A big sea of opinions.
100%.
Our opinion isn't necessarily any better or worse than our viewers.
Yes.
We just are stating our opinion.
Yeah, we're just the ones on the video stating the opinion. It doesn't make us better.
And they're welcome to also state their opinion. And
jump in.
I think as long as you have this sort of tolerance and appreciation, like you might learn from each other. I think that's always room for growth as a person and also just how we view things, different perspectives. I think that communication, I think, is important.
Yeah, dialectic is always best. Never go into any discussion thinking you know everything about everything or that you know everything about anything. So again, Socrates said it best. All I know is that I know nothing. So if you start from that, and the other thing I like to say is it's okay to be wrong. As long as you keep that in the back of your mind. Like a lot of people, like I always tell the story, a lot of people get mad. Like in a conversation, I'll just say, it's okay to be wrong. And they get mad because they think I'm talking about them. I'm also talking about me. I will change my mind if I am shown that I am wrong. I've done it a lot, actually. You just got to be able to.
I don't know. If they get mad at you for saying that, that means it's in the back of their minds too. So they don't want to be called out because they already, second guessing themselves.
Fair, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it speaks more about them than you.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'll tell you what, I sure appreciate having the discussion with me and then getting mad about show me your face. Why don't you show your face? Like it's sure better than that, which is the most common one I get, which is just always funny. Always funny.
I don't think, like, showing your face or not doesn't give you any more prestige or clout.
No.
Honestly, I kind of wish I was a bit more discreet, like just showing my hands in videos or something.
Right.
Because now I'm just afraid of posting anything too publicly about myself. There'll be something creepy that happens.
So I guess I
already had some people find me like on LinkedIn. I'm like,
well, that's what I was going to ask about. Like, yeah, I guess. And here's the thing, like. Do I get trolls? Yeah, and I'll argue loudly with them. You've seen it. You've seen me do it. Like, hell, even on some of your threads, you've seen me do it. Like, I'm not shy. I'm not shy, but it seems like in particular from what I've observed, and it's not just you, it's girls and women in particular. It seems like they get it. It's different. It seems like, and just the way.
You mean the amount of heat, or?
The amount.
Or
like
amount or like a certain type, like because I think it goes both ways.
And a certain weird type that sometimes
a flavor. Yes.
Yeah, it's whereas someone's like, "Oh, you're a fucking asshole," or "Yeah, you're a coward. Show your face." Like it's a little bit different than, "Hey, I like your hair. I like your hair, man."
Well,
like.
Not even just that. I think there's a lot of misogyny, even if people disguise it as compliments. That's why I don't like to respond to compliments because I don't know that's not what I came onto YouTube to get.
Exactly.
About my appearance or anything like that. And I don't know. I feel like that's always kind of a backhanded compliment for people to discuss that when I want to talk about something serious or just games.
Just some
anyway.
Just some weird shit. Yeah, like and I feel like
it's weird for sure.
I feel like if I showed my face, I would get some of that, but not nearly as much as I see on a lot of female content creators. Like,
I think a lot of it has to do with our sector in gaming. Unfortunately, there's a lot of it. It doesn't help that I think it bleeds into a lot of the streaming culture too, and people making assumptions about female gamers, like that's been around for ages. I think it's been a lot of things have improved since then. I think there are a lot more tolerant people, open-minded people, but you're always going to have the trolls. I feel like a lot of people who do press on the weird stuff are just trolls. They want to see a female just off the internet or something, or they just have a sick pleasure of,
And like I've always stated my position on this whole thing, because we're kind of
teasing
going
them.
we're kind of going through another round of that right now. I'm not super familiar with what's going on. I've seen some of it, like this whole fiasco with like the consulting firms and shit. I've seen a little bit of that going on. But my position is
Oh,
always, yeah, my position on this has always been, and you can go back to fucking 2010 when I'm writing for the Super Nintendo Hub. My position has always been, so I started following gaming, financially speaking, is from a business perspective in the Nintendo Wii, because Satoru Iwata, who said, the heart of the gamer speech, he talked about the fact that we have to grow gaming. Gaming right now is a shrinking demographic. If you calculate the macroeconomics, we're in decline right now. This is before the Wii launched. He said we're currently in. So it's before if you take the PS2, yes, the PS2 sold very well. If you look at the macroeconomics, sold very well. But if you look at the other two competitions, they did almost nothing in comparison. It's all been isolated into one system. And if you look across time, gaming is simply riding the macroeconomics. But what happens when the macroeconomic trends go into reverse, right? Then we enter the dilemma. So in order to avoid this, instead of focusing on gaming's bread and butter demographic, which is the young adult male, affectionately known as yams, what we need to do is we need to expand gaming's demographic the way it used to be in the 80s prior to Nintendo's marketing exclusively to those young adult males, which is what Nintendo made a decision to do after the crash. So Nintendo kind of caused that. But at the same time, Nintendo also saw an understanding that it's time to correct that so that we can grow gaming. More gamers means more money. More money means more great games for everybody. So I always react very strongly when I see people saying that we need to gatekeep gaming, or that we need to keep people out of gaming, or that we need less of this in gaming or less of that. Bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
We need more of everything in gaming. Because especially, and again, it's amazing to me. It's incredible to me that these arguments are starting up again as we enter one of the worst macroeconomic downturns probably since 2008. And so,
I think it's just these people with power struggles. They just feel like they need to assert their dominance in some way.
I understand, but do you want your fucking hobby to grow or not? Is my question to them.
I don't think they care. There's so many people who are just fixated on the hype of games. They don't play them themselves, though.
They always talk about the lifestyle developer. How about the lifestyle gamer? How about the gamers that spend so much time fucking in the gaming message forums yelling about games that they don't fucking play them?
Like, real gamers are honestly not chronically online.
That's true.
They're busy playing games.
Yeah. I think, you know what? I think that's about as good as a statement as we can have on that. That's absolutely fucking true. 100%. I even fall into that.
And unfortunately, just the bad players just have amplified voices now because of how big social media is.
Yeah. So again, I'm not super interested. Like I said, not super interested in what's going on besides to make that statement that we're entering bad times. We need as many dollars in this hobby as we can get. So if you are of the other mind, if you do want to be mad about this, I get it. You have a right to advocate for your own happiness, but please try to understand that less money coming into this hobby, less gamers coming into this hobby means less games for you. Just remember that. So.
And I just feel like there's been a big shift to mobile gaming, which I'm not a fan of personally. And I'm just going to be really sad if console gaming, just ends.
Well, and
just as a personal kind of thing. But
I don't think it'll end.
I'm sure many who are listening agree, but
and I don't see
there's going to be definitely a shift.
There's going to be shifts.
It's going to be, I think, a slow decline. We're going to see more push towards mobile and PC, I think, for sure.
Yeah,
though PC just has a huge entry point.
Well,
that's going to gatekeep people just because of how expensive it is to run these games.
And part of it also, and I've been making this since the 90s, Emily. So the console proposition was the best of both worlds. Take a game like The Legend of Zelda, right? Which was literally advertised in the 1998 Nintendo Fan Club newsletter as being the best of both worlds. It was something only you could find on a console. At the time, you had arcade games, which were tactile. They were action-oriented. They were fast-paced. And you had PC games, which were slow and more deliberate, but bigger. And Zelda said, here's something you can only get on a fucking console. It's got the tactile action of an action game, and it's got the complexity of a role-playing game. It's an action RPG. It was literally defined as such. And or a game like Mario Brothers, which again, you've got tactile arcade action, but you've got the blue sky, you've got the 8 different worlds. Super Mario Brothers was a massive game. Mario 3 even more massive at the time it came out. And slowly but surely, as video game consoles decided to abandon the integrated hardware and software direction, they began to go towards the PC model of basically a dumbed down PC plugged into a TV. Oh, well, I can do that too. I'm doing it right now. I've got my PC, I've got an extra long HDMI cable, and I've got a fucking Xbox One controller. Like literally, I can do that too with my PC. So what the fuck is the point of a console if the console is just going to be non-integrated software with the hardware? The point of a console is the integrated hardware and software model.
I was getting on the video I released about reflecting on the consoles I bought last year. When I brought up the point about the lack of like exclusive games on the next gen consoles, I was getting so much pushback saying that the industry would be better if there were no exclusives, which I don't think is
wrong.
true.
Absolutely wrong.
At all.
Absolutely
I think competition drives innovation.
Well, not only
like we see in most environments, but also other reasons why. But you can explain probably better than I can.
Well, look at it from this perspective. If you're making a game, well, Final Fantasy 16 is a good example of this. Let's just use Final Fantasy 16 or anything Nintendo does. But I'll use Final Fantasy 16. Now, that's not a game I particularly cared for. But one thing I would never say...
Yeah, it's not technically exclusive yet.
No, it'll come to PC, but yeah, it'll come to PC eventually. But they're having a hard time with it. Yeah. And the reason they're having a hard time with it is Yoshi P developed that fucking game from the ground up for PS5. So it meets my parameter in terms of integrated hardware software. They're going to have to bend the PC around that. They're going to have to. And so a game like that, I would never call a bad game, even if it wasn't a game I particularly enjoyed. It was a fine game as far as like the actual technicals of it. Same with anything Nintendo does. The reason why Nintendo's games are polished to a mere shine and they play as well as they do is because they are literally designed specifically for that hardware. They are optimized for it. And so you can see it in every single goddamn release anymore that comes out, where there's more spaghetti code than actual game code, and they're bloated, and they're 100 gigabytes for this game and 70 gigabytes for that game. And you can just see it and you can feel it in the way it plays. And it's just not the same. It's not the same as that Battlefront.
A lot of the games that have a simultaneous release, they have a lot of issues with the PC ports or the versions. Like I think it was Knights of the Republic was a big example of that, right? Like last year.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see what happens, but I certainly hope that that they take a page from your book in terms of saying, hey, we're going to go back to more Sony in particular. God, they're suffering right now. Like they're really suffering.
Well, you've seen the sales for Final Fantasy Rebirth, right? Or 7 Rebirth.
Yeah, that's what happens
in Japan.
When you put it on a system,
especially in Japan. It's just so sad. I was really surprised because I thought Final Fantasy was still big there, but because I think 16 did like relatively well.
16 did okay.
The numbers.
It underperformed, but Final Fantasy 7 did incredible. The remake. It did incredible, but everybody
there was so much hype around that.
But everybody has a PS4,
and that wasn't exclusive on. Yeah, that was on the PS4 as well.
But everybody has a PS4, and nobody has a PS5 over there. They just don't.
And they have inflated numbers because of people buying it. I think for China, right?
Well, they're buying it, sending it to China. You got scalpers still.
Yeah.
So
still.
There are a lot of problems, and I hope consoles can get back.
I don't know
track.
how big the MMO is over there, Final Fantasy 14, because I feel like there's been a shift to PC gaming over there.
Very. I know that Final Fantasy 14. So V, one of my best friends, she plays a ton of Final Fantasy 14. Like between Baldur's Gate 3 and Final Fantasy 14, that's what she plays. And Morrowind, I got her on Morrowind now. But
yeah, I have a lot of friends who play 14 too, but it's something I don't want to get sucked into because that would be all I would play.
Well, and she tempts me with it by stating that the storyline has an anarchist through line to it. Because I'm fascinated by that subject, but it's like no, Nope.
It's
Same
a
reason.
rabbit hole.
Same reason I skipped Warcraft back in the day. Same reason. Nope.
I played a little bit of Warcraft or WoW.
Yeah, WoW.
Because
I love Warcraft 3. Warcraft 3 was great.
Okay.
But I never jumped into WoW because I knew. I fucking knew. Like, I'll be that.
I shared an account with my brother, so I didn't have much at stake, but still.
I'll be that 300-pound fat guy with pushing his glasses up from South Park. Like,
my brother actually sold his account. That was when that was big.
Yes, that's a whole aspect of gaming history that would be a hell of a thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, like nowadays, I don't think that's as possible. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with MMOs. But
so Caesar says,
funny how that used to be a gateway.
Yeah, it did. Like for real. Like it absolutely would suck you in. Caesar says, backlog. What's a backlog? Denial's not going to help you, Caesar. You have to learn to accept the backlog.
Embrace it.
Yeah, Nin128's in. Welcome to the stream, buddy. He says, I have too many Switch games. Yeah. I think I qualify for that too. Upper Nimbus says, I need to cull my Switch collection as well. Too many games I probably won't ever play. I tell myself that I'm going to play them all. That's what
For me, a little teaser, I guess, for my video is there's some games I wish I bought on a different console or elsewhere. I wish I didn't buy them for the Switch. Like, I know better now, I guess, than when I originally bought them.
Well, yeah, if you have a PS5 or a Series X or a PC, exactly. I can totally see that. I'm just a stubborn ass. I just got to curate everything on the Switch. But yeah, like I just ordered Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I just saw the Digital Foundry on it. I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? It's one of those things where, but it's okay. I'll put it through.
I get people who complain too, like, you should buy this on the Switch because it'll be collectible down the line. Like, that's not why.
That's not. Yeah,
I'm buying it on the Switch.
And to be fair, like this is gonna seem fucking absurd to everybody listening. I swear to God, I buy these games to play them. I'm not buying them to be a collector. I'm not. Every single game I get it, and I immediately open it because I like that new game smell because I'm a weirdo. And
and see if there's inside cover art.
And to see if there's inside cover art, yes.
Or if it's going to be blank.
And to read the manual if it comes with one. Like, I'm not collecting shit. My game is immediately devalued the moment it gets on the shelf. Like, Nish Quick Pops, welcome in, Nish Quick. He says, glad you gave Xenoblade Chronicles 2 a second shot. I am super glad you got me into doing that. Super glad. This thing I'm super glad, we're going to get to it momentarily, that Emily and Brandon and everybody else in this fucking community that won't shut the hell up about this Trail series, because it is really good. It is really, really good. 100% good. So Caesar says it's a good idea to purge some games, Nimbus. I've done it before. Sometimes we get caught up in FOMO buying for the Switch. I think that's true. I think that's generally true. A lot of FOMO on Switch.
Yeah. Like, with your other collections, have you ever purged things just to...
yes.
Because it just became a little bit larger, and then it just, for me, like, for example, with K-pop, I was buying too many things, and I just felt overwhelmed by my collection. And once I purged it, I felt much better. It's like a sense of relief. Like, I don't have to haul this with me when I move next.
So the Super Nintendo in particular was the first system I really went hog wild on. I ended up with over 300 Super Nintendo games at its peak. And here's the thing, like Super Nintendo is an incredible system, especially when you start diving into the endless ocean. That's the Japanese games that you can get on Repro Card or that don't require English to play. Like Macross Scrambled Valkyrie is a shmup on that system. It's incredible. Don't need a lick of fucking English for it. But that system does not have 300 bangers. It just doesn't. There's a lot of those games that were not turds, most of them, but they were not worth keeping around. And so, I was able to kind of purge some of that off and sell some of that off. But
I think it's natural, though.
Yeah, it is.
I think we might come to that realization with the Switch down the line.
I think I was
more interesting.
I tell myself I was more selective on the Switch. So I don't know about that, but who knows?
I try to be too. But it's when I see an RPG that I'm like, oh, It's going out of print. I need it.
Like I said, I
It's too expensive.
said I was going to turn my channel at 150, and I didn't. And, oh, so you're gonna turn? Nope, I lied. Guess what? I lied.
Leave that goalpost.
Yep. Guess what? I'm not even gonna move the goal. Guess what? I fucking lied. People are liars.
Yeah. Well, we lie to ourselves all the time.
Yes.
So I think it's natural.
But I'm open enough to say that. But hey, yep, that was a lie. Didn't keep that promise. And I blame you. And honestly, I blame you fuckers anyway. Because I fully was going to do it, but I had a lot of people behind the scenes saying, "Yeah, don't do that, man. Like, don't purge. At least keep your work private or something." So, yeah. I'm just now I can tell myself the lie. I'm just giving people what they want. So, FOMO is the way of life. 90s handheld gamer says it is in this hobby more often than not,
especially recently, because I think it's going to be. Soon we're not going to be able to get Switch games at a discount.
Yeah.
It'll all be mail orders or ready, what do we call it? The made to order sort of model.
Yeah, it seems like gaming is with physical releases, and I hate to see it, it's sad, but it seems like gaming is kind of taking the opposite and reverse track of books. So with books, you have the paperback is the wide release. And then if you really want a book, you get the hardcover early on. It seems like with gaming, you get like the digital game early on, and then you get like the special physical collection at the end tail.
Have you been on Bookstagram or Booked TikTok?
I haven't.
There are these companies that are making beautiful books after the fact, and people are spending so much money on them.
Oh, are you talking about Folio Society?
Just to have, there's that, but no, I'm talking about these other who target mostly women.
Okay.
There's a lot of these subscription services. They make custom books with like pretty like dust jackets, stencil straight edges, and they just have to have it on their Bookstagram shelf so it looks pretty on their shelf.
Interesting. I didn't know
they pay so much money for this.
I thought that was just me being a vanity.
I got a little bit into it during the pandemic. I bought a few, but I don't have room for books, so I sold them. Oh. And a lot of them are going for a lot of money.
Well, Emily, I'm going to have to share on the Cold Nights Discord. I'll have to share some of my Folio Society collection because I was one of those guys that did that. Yeah, I got all kinds of Folio. Those are fucking expensive.
Yeah. They are. I got my dad one for his birthday one year, and it was so expensive, especially the shipping. It was expensive. It's like, oh.
Oh, I'm going to have to.
I got him. What did I get him? Yeah, you'll have to share. Yeah. I don't have many books with me anymore, unfortunately. I'd love to have a library of books, but I had to pick and choose.
Space is important.
So I decided to keep my K-pop, my games, and my figures.
Well,
that's all I have.
And I've got one room devoted just to books. Like I've got a whole room devoted just to books, and so that helps.
I bought a Kindle.
Yeah,
that helps me. And also, I read so much faster on a Kindle.
Yeah, I've got a Kindle as well. I take that with me when I travel when you can't take a whole chest full of books. So you take the Kindle with you, and it's got all kinds of good stuff on it. But 100%. Now, there's one industry, but then the digital books are also dirt cheap. Something that video games needs to learn a little bit about. Like if you're
and the library system's so great for digital books too, like the Libby and apps and all those.
Yeah. There's some really good stuff.
It's kind of sad how the renting, like we used to rent video games back in the day, and that was the cheap way to get them, but that's not really in the model anymore, other than GameFly, which is kind of expensive for what it is.
So my rental place was a local place called Family Video, and they were run by the Carasotas family, who founded them, who lived right here in Springfield, and they closed their last store right before the pandemic. I was so devastated when that happened. That's a piece of my childhood gone, just gone. Like
all of our stores, my hometown, they closed down. I don't know. I think that was when I went to college. Is when they started closing down. But still.
Upper Nimbus says Scorpio. Yeah, FOMO is the biggest reason, especially with JRPGs. And Caesar just discovered the other genre. There's 3 genres that will absolutely devastate your wallet if you miss out on one and it ends up being one of those shit fuck games. It's 3 genres: JRPGs. Not so much Western RPGs, but JRPGs in particular.
JRPGs
have a big audience. Horror games and shmups.
Shmups, yep. I've seen those.
If you,
I'm glad I'm not in that genre.
Oh my god, I paid fucking $90 for Esprit Sai. $90 for a fucking shmup game.
They released so many of those at the limited print companies too.
Mhm.
Like, it's hard to keep up with those. I've seen.
Yeah, Esprit Psi in particular never did come, so its only release is the Japanese M2 Shot Triggers release, and
Yeah.
it goes for stupid money now. Like and then the other one that I spent more than I should have because I just lost out was before I knew about limited run games, and that was Layers of
Mm.
Fear. And horror hit me hard on the Switch because Layers of Fear I spent over 100 on, and which is ridiculous because that's literally a walking simulator. And then the other one is Outlast. Outlast 1.
Mm.
And horror games and shmup games are
Yeah.
joined
Thankfully, just my poison is JRPGs.
and some visual novels as well, but not as much. Fata Morgana,
That's true.
stupidly expensive. And fucking limited
I
run
can see
games.
that re-releasing though on the next Nintendo console. So
I hope so,
I
man.
wouldn't be too heartbroken if you missed out on the Switch version. Anyone in the audience? But
well, and then fucking limited run games literally paid for the English exclusivity. So that problem that's normally solved by PlayAsia, where hey, if it's got a translation, they put it on the Japanese.
Yep.
They didn't do it because limited run paid for them not to do it.
Have you seen the devs working on their new game? Have you been up to date on that?
The Fata Morgana devs? Mm-hmm. No.
Last year they shared that they've been working on a new thing. I don't know when it's going to release, but yeah.
Exactly. That game's a
I'm really excited.
That game's a fucking masterpiece. Like that was the game that got me into VNs and got me basically into storytelling games. That's the game.
Did it get you right in the beginning? It took me a while to get
No. I say right in my review that like you have to commit up front to spending 3 chapters,
a lot,
3 chapters with with these douchebags. Like these are 3 utterly hateful, spiteful, unlikable people that you'll ever meet. It's like Game of Thrones without Ned Stark. They're all assholes. They're all fucking assholes.
Yeah.
But then
it took me a while to get through that part. I was like,
but then you get to chapter 4.
Pay through.
Then you meet Michael and Giselle.
Yeah.
And then the story takes off.
Then things turn. Yeah, that's the real story.
And then you realize, oh, that's why these other people are fucks. Okay. Like that's okay. I still hate them, but I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, that build-up, I think, took a little.
That build-up's rough. That build-up, yeah, no, definitely agree with that critique. Yeah, like, man, these people are not likable. Like, there's nobody here I care about. Like, nobody.
No redeeming qualities.
No. Like, there's the white-haired girl, and what she goes through sucks, but it's not enough to hold your attention. And okay, I know. Okay, here she is again. She's gonna go through more torture. Great. Like. Oh,
it's just like a train wreck. You're watching a train wreck. That's not fun.
Yes, it's not. And by the way, you're on rails too, guys. So full disclosure, you are complete. This is not AI the Somnium Files where there's some interaction. Like, you are on fucking rails the whole time. You're not observing.
There are choices you make. There are choices.
Barely.
A couple. You just have to save before it. Otherwise, it gives you an end game.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a couple.
So then you've got air travel is scary. It seems like a quality control is slipping. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is going on with air travel, but it's
scary. And then, did you hear about the whistleblower?
I did hear a little bit about that. Yeah, that was that just
sketch too.
He just unalived himself. Just out of nowhere, a whistleblower,
and told someone that it's not that. Like. I don't know. It's a lot of conspiracies now.
And again, I'm not one to dive too much into conspiracies, but come on.
It's not looking good.
Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
It just got my friend V literally told me, she's like, Zoo, they do whatever they want to do. And I'm not as cynical as they can be, but at the same time, like, that looks rough, man. That point to V for sure on that. Fucking point, because that looks fucking horrible. Like, that is why we have conspiracy theories. That's why. It's shit like that. But yeah, air travel getting scary. Brooke Barnes says, I finished the Red Ribbon arc, and now I'm at the 22nd tournament arc, and it's one of my 3 favorite arcs on Dragon Ball. Brooke Barnes says. Ooh, okay. What is your favorite arc from Dragon Ball? What's your favorite? I'm kind of curious about that. Dragon Ball. Everybody talks about Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball is pretty fucking underrated, honestly. It's very fun. It's very, very
fun. I never saw the original. I just saw a little bit of Z.
It's good.
And I wasn't hooked as a kid, so yeah, I haven't committed.
Yeah, it's
also the perviness, I think, in Dragon Ball kind of turned me off a little bit.
Yeah, Master Roshi
I'm more used to it now, but still.
Yeah, it's it definitely suffers from that like early Animu stuff for sure.
It's aged.
Yeah,
it's aged.
Which is one thing what I've seen of say One Piece, which you really like. I haven't seen a lot.
Yes.
Believe it or not, like there's not a lot of that in One Piece that I've seen.
I think Oda is really pretty level-headed when it comes to how he writes characters. It's really impressive, especially back then. Like there are some things that maybe not would completely fly 100% nowadays, but like for the time, I think it still really like holds up well.
I just got to meet Smoker, and I just got to where Goldie Roger was executed, is where Luffy's at now. Okay. So I'm slowly but surely making my way through. Moment when I was hooked, I would say the fight with like the cat claw guy, the captain guy. That's where I think.
Okay.
I think that's where I kind of got.
Did you watch the live action?
I hear it's good. I haven't seen it, but I hear it's really good.
Well, now that you're at the Smoker part, you probably should watch it.
Okay.
And see how you think.
Sounds good. I will have to do that. I hear it's a much brisker.
And compare and contrast it.
Yeah, I hear they're a lot brisker paced. So.
Oh yeah, there's only 10 episodes, and they squeeze a lot in, but they also. It's not like a 1-to-1 of the original like source material, but
they'd be there all fucking
like Oda okayed it, so I think they did a great job for what they did, honestly.
Well, and Oda
like even like the things they changed.
Well, and Oda is known to be very protective of his baby too, so that's why people are like, well, everybody was rolling their eyes, and all the outrage YouTubers were like, oh, here's another bad Netflix adaptation. I'm like, no, not One Piece.
I'm cautiously optimistic is what I said.
Absolutely.
After all the really bad live action adaptations we were getting, I'm like, I think this could be good, even though this is the most weird like thing to like adapt into live action.
It's literally
like with the rubber man and everything.
It's literally the thing you think would be the hardest in terms of
exactly.
But they fucking butchered Cowboy Bebop, Emily. They butchered it.
I couldn't finish it. I did 2 episodes, and then I'm like, nope.
I didn't either. They butchered that show, man. Look
I just watched the Full Metal Alchemist movie that they did a few years ago in Japan.
Oh, it was okay. Yeah.
I watched it. It wasn't that great.
So while we're on the subject, Brooke, if you're here, so Madoka Magica, you got to episode 3. So now we can talk about the deconstruction of the magical girl genre. I don't know if there's a better moment in anime that just like you spend 3 episodes being like, what the fuck is this that I'm watching? Like, what the fuck is this cutesy ass shit? And then it just fucking drops you at the end of episode 3, and that new outro kicks in, and it just feels like the whole world's ending, and it's fucking amazing. So yeah, I can't wait. We'll do a Morrowind stream because I want to spoil it we got a lot of people in the chat. I don't want to spoil it for them, but I will do a Morrowind stream probably tomorrow night. And if you join me on the Morrowind stream, you and I will talk because like 3 people show up to that. Now I don't give a fuck about spoilers, and we can talk on the Morrowind stream. But I will leave it at that. That I want to know how you felt when that series was holding you in its fucking hand and it just dropped you in the fucking black hole. I want to know how you felt. That's what I want to know. Because that has one of the best, like, hard right turns of anything I've ever seen in my life. And it's done beautifully. Horribly, but beautifully. There, I just gave you all the impetus you need to check that out, Emily.
All right.
So Shanghai calls can be a bit rough time-wise. Yeah, anything to Australia or to the east. Yeah.
It's hard. That's why we have odds.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
What books are you reading? So I am actually currently reading it's for the Batman review. And the last book I read were 2. I read I read Discipline and Punishment by Michel Foucault. And that was following Jeremy Bentham's just various works by Jeremy Bentham. And I also read a few Batman visual novels. So I was reading the Last Halloween, and I was reading Nightfall as well, just to kind of get a feel for the Batman comics because I don't really have a feel for that. Um, just to kind of get the tone. And then Arkham Serious House on a Serious Earth. Forgot about that one. So a little bit of hard philosophy and a little bit of VNs is what I'm currently reading. Now, or what I did read. My current read is a book called it's Lisbon. It's or it's oh shit. Let me look it up because I got it in front of me. Lisbon, War in the Shadows of the City of Light. War in the Shadows of the City of Light is what it's called. And it's a book about World War II era Portugal. And I'm reading that specifically for the game I am looking at now, as well as also slowly plotting through Ulysses again. So I got a lot of reading currently going on. Zero. Emily, you read anything currently?
Reading a few things. I've been trying to. Mostly, my free time has been taken up by my replay of Cold Steel 3. But I've been reading these. Yeah, I've been reading these English translated Chinese novels. They're kind of they're more like fiction. But I've been reading the series called In the Dark. It's kind of more of a mystery sort of novel, which I don't recommend it for everyone. It's but yeah.
Have you read Three Kingdoms or Water Margin? Outlaws of the Marsh?
I haven't. No.
I was saying,
my intro to all the Chinese stuff was the Grandmaster of Demonic Demonic. I'm forgetting it now.
I know the book. But, I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the BL stuff. So that's what introduced me to the genre because I was curious. And it was really good, actually. I was surprised, and I watched the live action and the donghua or the anime with that too. The author's other stuff. Well, so I've been trying to branch out to some other ones.
Well, I was going to say Jay must be getting excited right now. He's really into the Three Kingdoms and the Chinese. Like, oh yeah, he's huge into that. So Jay from Cold Nights. He's probably getting excited right now. Oh yes, like another three, but not quite. But yeah, another. Like anytime somebody talks about Chinese literature, it's like, oh, another Three Kingdoms fan.
Yeah,
it's like.
Yes. I talked to him about the MDZZ stuff. So.
Fastest. So Scorpio sees fastest selling Metroid game, and he's laughing. Yeah, it's a joke. It's a real joke. Fastest selling. Every fucking game is the fastest selling. Congratulations, you're the fastest selling game in your franchise. What year did you come out? Oh, you came out in 2023. Oh, well, that's good. I sure am glad you're the fastest selling with pop growth as much as it is. Good job.
And yeah, Tony has the right name down there. Grandmaster Demonic Cultivation. I don't know why I was blanking on the cultivation term.
That's it.
That's the term, for all that era kind of fantasy stuff.
And 90 says I need to restart Metroid Dread, put it down for Tokyo Mirage Sessions first, but was alcohol starting to kick in. Sessions first, but was loving it. I like Tokyo.
Have you played that on the Switch?
Yes, yeah. I played a little bit of it. I'm 2 chapters in. I did like it, but I need to get back to it. But I really did like it. Yeah. So.
How'd you like the Tokyo Idol kind of insertions?
It's not a culture I'm super familiar with, but I think that makes it all the more interesting to me. I know idol culture is a whole vibe in Japan. Like it's a whole thing, and like it is obsessive for a lot of folks. Like, so I'll be curious to kind of enter that world, so to speak. But it's my
don't see as much of the obsessive fan stuff, I would say, but you get a flavor of kind of the goofiness of some of like the music videos they put out, and that kind of stuff, that flavor.
Yeah, and apparently there's more than just music idols. There's like idols for everything. Basically, like every hobby has like its own like influencer or idol thing, and yeah, it's an interesting. And they have like their
That sounds right.
and they have like talent agencies and shit. Just like it's yeah. Apparently it's a
Oh,
whole.
they have a revolving system too. You have to vote to keep your idol in the group.
Shit!
It's sad.
So it's like, oh my gosh! Oh
Yeah, it's brutal.
that is
I would.
brutal.
They try to do that in K-pop, but it didn't fly.
I was gonna say that's terrible. So yeah,
fans are upset.
Yeah, ace that, you bet, right?
Right.
So let's see here. There's already a new position for AI prompt engineer. See, yep, there. So there's those opportunities that we was talking about. Yeah, there's those new opportunities that are going to be showing up. Temperate Thomas. Tolkien was a great philosopher and linguist, but you couldn't tell because he was also a good writer. Yes. 1000%. And Tolkien is actually, believe it or not, Tony, Tolkien is actually where I get a lot of my morality from, actually, which is amazing. But yeah, it's his entire allegory for power, and you have to throw it in the fire. That's where it comes from. It comes from Tolkien.
Yeah. In middle school, I tried reading Lord of the Rings. I could only get to The Hobbit. I tried the first Lord of the Rings book, and I had to set it down.
Well, the good news is the movies are extraordinary as well.
They are.
They're
yeah, that was the motivation, because I was so into the movies at the time, and it was hard to, as a middle schooler, to read the other books. I'll have to give them a try, though, now, but someday.
Nish Quick says, Zoo, have you played Xenogears? It's basically Nietzsche and Freudian psychology. Well, I haven't, but I'm going to now. Like right now.
You should. It's pretty cool. I'm in the middle of it.
Right now I'm playing it. Xenogears is Xenogears is a 1998 role-playing game developed for Square PlayStation 1. Okay. So if I get my DVD player, I can play Xenogears on it. So, okay. So that, well, Nish.
What I did was I have it on my Vita. You have a PS Vita, right?
I do. Is it on the Vita?
I recommend just the PSN store. You can get it, or you could also.
Well, that's what I will.
If you've modded it, you can also get it that way.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say, look what you just did, Nish. You just gave me another fucking game to probably 70 hours again.
Yeah.
So, all right, but yeah, that you had me at Nietzsche and Freud. I gotta tell you, man, looking at and again, not to get off gaming topic, but y'all know I do this from time to time. But looking at current events, I got to tell y'all, I'm really struggling in my fight with Nietzsche, and I think he's winning. And I think Nietzsche's winning. I am really struggling against his arguments right now. Tony, you're the only one in here that fucking knows what that means, and that's okay because the rest of you are all normal, so it's perfectly fine. Anyway, let's see. Mad Kaiser's in the house. What's up, Mad Kaiser? Welcome. Glad you're here, man. And then Mad Kaiser, what up? Kaiser, everybody doing the greeting thing. Doing fine. Nimbus, can't complain, man. Glad you're doing well. I tell you, everybody gets their comments read here. Everybody. I'll have to finish listening to this later. Y'all have a great night in week 90s. Thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate you. Then Inferno Fox says, damn, the gang's all here. Thanks, buddy. You as well. Hell of a chat going tonight. Yeah, it's big. It's big. The data is
some good conversations.
Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, but yeah, sometimes the chat hijacks. We got to get through them all. The data is aggregated or obfuscated a lot of times. PII.
Yeah, that's true. I do that.
Mm-hmm.
The
PII, personally identifiable information. Upper Nimbus says, take it easy, 90s. And then Tony says, grant proposals and money hunting is part of why I became disillusioned with academia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So academia is one of those things, like, I'm glad it exists, but so here's the thing, like, you wouldn't know it. Like, a lot of these academics also are very high on their fucking horse. Like, they're so high up there.
Oh, I know this.
Holy shit, man! And that's the thing.
I lived it.
There's a lot of academics that would talk to me. I talk like a truck driver, man. And so they would talk to me, and they would think I'm just the most brick dumb fucking guy in the world. And I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm not like super egghead mode. But at the same time, I'm not dumb either. But a lot of times they just assume people that aren't from that world are dumb. It's like, no, we're not dumb. We just chose to do something else necessarily. Like it's not necessarily that we're stupid. We just
academics have a difficulty communicating to other people who aren't in their specific little niche area.
Right. Well, and that's why.
And sometimes they just have their blinders on.
Well, and that's why I stress multiplication of values. So a good example of this is you have people that are engineers, and you have people that are writers. And oftentimes, writers and engineers, those paths never cross because they're usually different modes of mind, essentially. But every once in a while, you get somebody who multiplies the value of an engineer with the value of a good writer. And what do you get? You get a technical writer, one of the highest paid professions in the world. That's what you get out of that. Yeah. Say another great way of multiplication of values. One of my good friends who lives in Texas is one of the richest people in the United States. How did he do this? He paired his ability working on oil and natural gas derricks. Okay. So working on fracking rigs. Well, I wasn't fracking at the time, but it was oil rigs. And he paired that with, he took that and he paired that with getting a degree in real estate law. So he multiplied the value of knowing natural gas and oil know-how with the ability to buy land cheaply, knowing where to drill, knowing how to buy land. End result is a company called One Oak, which is one of the highest, he's one of the richest people in the world now. It's a natural gas company here in the States, and he is loaded now. So academia is all about stacking values, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't be afraid to multiply a value across the field either, guys.
Academia is kind of almost a dead end job. People usually just go for it for tenure.
Yep.
And then they cruise along once they get it.
It's where I got mine was multiplying values. And basically I did it with video games. So how did I learn finance and economics? I didn't actually learn it from academia, not necessarily. I got a degree in something else. What I did is I studied what I was interested in, and what I was interested in was video games, and I studied the business of video games. That's what I did. So
I think self learning is the biggest thing you do. You don't need to take a class or get a degree to be an expert in something. My brother is actually this way. Huh? He got a stat degree because there's a long story on this, but he's more interested in computer programming. And so he was more of a self-taught software engineer. And that's what he's really excelled at and leveraged and has become, rather than a statistician.
Absolutely.
Doesn't make as much as a software engineer of his caliber, I guess. So he's done well as being more of a self.
But also he'll pick up more values over time. Self-learners often do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think one of the biggest things is, you never stop learning. Like, even after you get your degree, there's always going to be innovation or new things to pick up, new skill sets.
And whether you're in that world or you're not in that academic world, either way, just like you said, the interest in learning, the hunger for knowledge, that's a big differentiator. It's a big separator.
Yes.
So absolutely.
Great.
So then you've got good night 90s. Scorpio Caesar wishing 90s a good night. He says, Tony says, haha, you can poison yourself with pretty much anything if you ingest too much. Yeah, everything in moderation, right?
On the water part.
Yeah. Yep. Vodka is mostly water. Yes, it is. That's true. Of course, there's only one vodka on this stream, and that's Kharkov vodka. So I will drink Kharkov soon. That's one. So this comes. So it's a funny story, Emily. This comes from my time visiting Poland, and my friend Kamen told me, he used to laugh. He's like, "Oh, you Americans and your Belvedere and your Grey Goose and your." He's like, "That's not vodka. No, that's not vodka. Vodka is supposed to hurt." He told me. That's what he said.
Doesn't go down easy.
No, always so. So Kharkov is that vodka that, if you look on the bottom shelf with all the plastic, Emily, that bottom shelf of vodka. Well, what you want to do is you want to feel for a latch on the floor under that shelf, and you want to pull up. And if you pull that latch up, underneath the bottom shelf is where they keep the Kharkov. It's kind of the joke I tell. That is the vodka you want. But that's got to be a Saturday stream, guys, because I won't move the next day. That's this Midleton's is high quality shit.
Do you mix it with anything, or do you have it straight?
Straight. Vodka's supposed to hurt.
Okay.
Straight. Straight up.
Straight. Okay.
Yep. You drink it straight, and you instantly grow hair on your knuckles. Like that's what it does. So then Scorpio Caesar says, "Got to head onto the road for work. Long commute await, but that chat time for me is over. Farewell, folks. I'll be listening on my way home. Have a good night, everyone." Caesar, absolute legend. We'll talk again soon, man. You know it. Everybody's saying later to Caesar. Good salient points by M and Zoo. We try. We definitely try. So Tony says, "Ari, sweet baby, I think they should be free to offer their consulting to companies, but the players should also be free to know what games they've worked on so they can make informed decisions." 100% agree with it. 100% agree with it. There's nothing wrong. And I think that was
transparency is biggest thing.
And I think that was part of the controversy. And I think you're correct, Tony. I think that's where Sweet Baby made a mistake, or one of the employees made a mistake, because apparently somebody was sharing some list of the games they worked on, and they tried to get this guy's Steam account pulled. Not cool. That's not cool at all. So yeah, that blew up this whole thing for sure, 100%. And we got.
I didn't realize that was the origin.
That was an origin, yeah. And so I want to be very careful. It's true. So Tony, my interest is in growing gaming, and I feel like there's a lot of bad actors that are coming in now being really shitty about things to some of the people we need in this hobby. But at the same time, you can't try to get somebody's Steam account yeeted because they list some games that you worked on, man. You can't do that. So a little bit of common sense on both sides, people. Like, come on, man. Like, it's not hard. Like, but good. Thanks for pointing that out, Tony. That's very true. Z-Bad asked a question. Orbalology was 16 when Final Fantasy 12 launched. Not a question. I was like 9. Yeah.
Yeah. 16.
Now you're making me feel old, Z-Bad.
Me too.
Agreed with you, Emily. I'm glad I bought a few titles on the PS5 over the Switch because of the performance on the former. And then Tony says KCD is awesome, Zoo. One of my favorite games in the last 12 years. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Yeah, I'm very excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance. Very excited. I can't wait for that one. PS5 isn't a bad console, but the fans online make it miserable to support. Yeah, that's what OJ talks about. Player Essence talks about those crazy PlayStation 5 fans that are always attacking him for like common sense comments, man. Like OJ will literally say something like, "Hey, Sony needs more exclusive games," or "Hey, Sony says their sales didn't meet expectations." And you ought to see these crazy fucking you ought to see these crazy PlayStation fans that come out.
I'm sure. Well, I think all the consoles have their own subset of fans who are rabid.
They sure.
But yeah, I could see why PlayStation would invade maybe his streams or.
Oh God, it's crazy what he deals with. Sometimes
it's all very targeted, you know.
Yeah, it's
if you look like you lean towards one console, you'll get people ganging up on you.
But I'll give him this. There's, except for maybe me, there's nobody better at the clapback game. Like, he's very good at it when he wants to be.
It is a skill. It's a skill I don't have. I just try to ignore usually. Hope they go away.
And here's the thing: what you do is
which also I think works.
It's the right move, actually. It's the right move. But sometimes it's just we just can't help ourselves, man. We just can't help ourselves.
Yeah.
Like this.
It's a lot of it's, you know, the straw is just adding up, you know, breaking the camel's back and all that analogy.
Yeah. But I did actually take the advice on a recent thing, and it just went away, which is good. Like, it just went away.
That's good.
Because I was gonna go to war. I was gonna go to war with that homie, but yeah, it's you're part of that.
Some people don't need to acknowledge them. Like that's what they are craving. They want acknowledgement of some sort, even if it's negative.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, this motherfucker was doing his best.
He's them by ignoring them.
Yeah, doing his best Roman Reigns impression. Acknowledge me. Like 100%. That's what he was doing. Except he's not. Except nowhere near as cool or successful. So,
well, I think that was the problem, right?
Yep. So, Nishan K, so that's Nish. I'm flip-flopping accounts, but that means you get more likes, Sue. Oh, okay. Well, All right, I'm good with that. So then Nimbus saying hi. Brick Barnes, Blockbuster was my childhood, and I actually skipped one of Brick's. Blockbuster was, I had Blockbuster too. In its height,
Wow.
Springfield had 3 video game rental companies, Brooke. They had Family Video, Blockbuster, and Hollywood Video. Had all 3. Yeah, it was booming, man.
My area just had Hollywood and Blockbuster and some mom and pop ones.
And the mom and pop one, yeah. They always had a mom and pop in there. So, Brick Barnes, question, flipping the switch. Do you have a Discord? That is an interesting question. So, what I want you to do is, yes, question mark, but it's a secret to everybody. So I will get with you at a later time, and we will get you set up for that. 100%. I don't do anything in it, so to be fair, I don't do shit in that Discord. But it's there.
You could be more active and talk to your community who value similar things.
And maybe I could do it, but I like.
You don't just there's no pressure to do it right away. Like it's something maybe in the future you could.
Generally speaking, like if you're going to find me, it'll be either in Jay's Discord, which I'm not there a lot anymore, just because I've just kind of, I don't know, I just forget Discord exists. Like there was a time when Jay first started his Discord up, I was in there all the time, but you lose track that it exists, and work has been so busy lately, I haven't been able to devote the time I want. But
there's so many apps that just split our attention,
Yeah. So
I haven't been keeping up with YouTube as much, which I feel bad about. Like everyone's videos. On Twitter, I've been trying not to look as much, and Instagram.
Right.
Just so much split attention.
Well, there's a lot to it, and again, I catch up when I can, but I'm on the same boat where it's just very hard right now. But I promise y'all, I do watch your stuff. It just takes time sometimes. Now, and again, I always tell people just to kind of remove that obligation. No obligation to watch my shit at all for anybody. Like you never have an obligation.
Same word to comment.
Yep. You have
like you could just stealthily watch it. It doesn't matter.
Yep, exactly. No obligation whatsoever. Like time is valuable, guys. 100%. If you want to be here, I'm happy to have you. I'm honored to have you. But if there's other shit you'd rather be doing, I completely understand. Completely understand. So Shinky's in the house. What's going on, Shinky? What's going on? And everybody saying, "Oh, Shinky's in the house." Everybody, Hail Kaiser and Nimbus. And then Tony says, "Yeah, the whistleblower story is very sus. Weird to fly out, be in the middle of testifying in a trial, and then boom. Very weird." And Brooke says, "My favorite arc is the Piccolo arc. Mine too, Brooke. 100%. The Piccolo arc is my absolute favorite." Chill Collects is in the house. What's going on, Chill? And Brooke saying, "Okay," probably to the comment on the Discord comment. Hey, Nimbus, how are you? Good, Chill. Everybody talking. There's that Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, which I've heard of that book, and now I'm going to have to actually look into that more because I have heard of it.
It's pretty cool, honestly. Awesome. I think it reads well, like even if that's not really your thing, like how they designed all the politics around certain events and how it turns out. It's fun.
Let's see.
And live action's a lot of fun too.
TMS is absolutely amazing. I had such a fun time with it. That final song in Tokyo Mirage Sessions is fantastic. Ooh, that'll be fun. I love Tokyo Mirage Sessions, so a lot of people loving that.
A lot of love. That's good.
Yeah, my wife.
It's underrated, I think.
My wife and I are reading the Lord of the Rings books at bedtime with our kids. Great Wog, you're doing them a service. You're doing them an absolute service. That's any way you can absorb the Lord of the Rings. It is an important. Not only is it a good book and a good story, whether it's movie, whether it's an important story.
Yeah,
it is a vitally important story. And then Nish Quick, never heard of him. Ha. So, all right, we did it. We made it through that absolute avalanche of comments. So, okay. So, Tails. So, fucking Tails now. So, what got you into Trails? I'm really drunk now.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
So, what got you into Trails? What was it that pulled you into Trails that made you decide that you were going to check this series out? Like, how did you become a Trails guy on the internet, as Brandon likes to say?
It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly what it was. Like, I think at that time, I was kind of at the end of my PhD and I was getting a little bit more into gaming than just the 3DS I had. And I was looking into the PS Vita specifically. And I kept hearing so many great things about modding it and playing the Trails in the Sky games and how that's a really great entry point into the series because it uses the Evolution versions and not the ones that you get on Steam. So there's a slight difference, at least visually, on it. And so I was kind of just looking into it, and I thought this might be a really cool just story to get sucked into since I've heard nothing but great things about the story. And story is definitely one of the things I look for the most in JRPGs and characters. And it was so cool just to see a female protagonist as the main lead in the Sky games. So I definitely wanted to experience that.
That's Estelle, right? Estelle Bright?
Estelle, yeah, she's my favorite video game character. And
I just met her. Not just, but I've been meeting her off and on in Trails from Zero, and she seems to be really good people. Like that's a girl I would want to know.
Yeah.
Like if they're like in real life, I'd be like, yeah, that's somebody I would want to call a friend. That seems like to put it in a she seems like a solid bruh, basically.
Yeah, I think what's really great about her story is you see her growth from kind of this angsty teenager who's a little bit self-centered, but then she kind of understands, like, sees beyond herself and how she could help people and is motivated towards that than more selfish reasons. And you just see that throughout the series. I think it's really cool.
See, and I'm seeing everything from the
when you get a chance, you'll have to kind of look at Sky stuff.
I've already got Sky on, so I've ordered it on PC, so I do have it.
Okay.
And once I finish Zero, I'm kind of starting in a strange place, but I was told it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, it's fine.
And
there's some things that might, like you might not totally understand 100% Zero, but if you do backtrack, you'll, I think, pick up on it and then see it again in Azure.
So first of all, nobody told me that this was going to be a cop story, which is very funny.
Oh.
I started laughing, just because.
It's a pseudo cop story.
Like
they're a special type of cop.
Right. That's what's so like. They're actually there to like try to. They're the people that get the cat out of the tree. So they're almost like a firefighter.
They're like between a bracer and a cop.
Yeah. Like it's really interesting, and so, but they're coming at it from a perspective like nobody thinks like everybody's like, oh yeah, they're not going to do shit because they're lazy, and like you have to kind of fight that stigma like that you have right off the bat.
They had to prove themselves.
Yes, and it's really funny to watch that happen. And you got like the reporter that like literally just makes them look bad, and like not even meaning to sometimes, just every time like this. So. But I just got to a point, like I'm in the big case now where there's a threat on this actress's life is where I'm at now. And getting ready to solve that. That's gotta be the next thing I'm doing. But I'm taking my sweet time with it because this is one of those games where like every time you advance time, everybody in this fucking town has something new to say. So it is taking forever, but I'm loving every minute of it because, so James Joyce, the author of Ulysses, famously said that if Dublin were to vanish from the face of the earth tomorrow, you would be able to rebuild the city from his novel. Now, that's a big brag, but I feel like he's almost correct in it, at least at that particular time. Like, it is such a biopic of that city. And I kind of feel like Crossbell is similar. It's kind of a biopic of the city that it's almost like the city is its own main character in a way. And that like you and all of your other party members are kind of supporting characters to the city.
And with the support of all the NPCs that you talk to with the constantly changing dialogues and also their own kind of growth, you see, you can see, how all of them are intertwined in some way and just live in the city. That's so rich of life.
Well, and then one of the other interesting things, like you mentioned like the NPCs, and like there's this village chief that's over north of Crossbell, and he's got a son, and they're kind of at loggerheads on what to do in terms of like moving the village forward. And I'm seeing that every time I go visit, there's like a new dynamic with them, and it's just like I want to know how this. Or there's the new actress who I just met who really factors in this arc, but like she just moved in.
Risha?
Yes. And so Risha just moved in, and she moved into like a bad area where there's like some punks, and they're very sexist. And it kind of shocked me, honestly, some of the comments they make. Like, there's this one screenshot I shared, and it's like, yeah, I just fucking motorboat them. Like, what the fuck? Like,
I would say a lot of the stuff is not super vulgar in the Trails games. There are a couple that get you by surprise.
Yeah.
They're more pervy than vulgar, but
right. But I'm just like, what the? I can't believe that made it in. Like, not that it's a bad thing. Like, it's fine, but yeah.
Well, I think in Europe it's rated 18 plus. One of the crossbow games. I forget if it's both or just one, but I think it's because there's gambling and drinking and drugs use in it. But I think that's what pushed it over the limit. Whereas it's still, I think, T here. But
Crossbow is absolutely incredible. The other thing I want to look at, and we talked a little bit about this, is I'm reading a current, like a historical biopic, because the city seems to have a lot of parallels to me to Portugal. In particular, at this time, like, you got a city that's like the capital of espionage, and there's a lot. It's kind of right in the middle of a war that seems to be like getting ready to get started. Like, there's some serious disagreements between a couple of these countries, and it seems like you're kind of the central there. All the politicians are bribed by one side or the other, and yeah, absolutely.
Well, they're in the middle of it, like location-wise. They're literally just stuck in the middle.
And so
they have guns pointed at them.
Right. I'm curious to see the parallels between like World War II Portugal and the Crossbell, because basically the King of Portugal managed to kind of carefully navigate his way through this situation. And basically how he did it was they had control of something called wolfram, which was a very, very precious metal. Some folks might know it as titanium. And because of their supply of wolfram and threatening to destroy that supply should either the Nazis or the Allied powers invade, he was basically able to carefully maintain his neutrality through a very, very pressing war. And I'm curious to see if refugees are going to start showing up if the war starts, because that happened in Portugal. A lot of Jewish refugees showed up there. I'm just very curious to see where it goes, and to see if I'm right on the money, or if maybe it develops in a different way. And either way, I'm going to be happy as a clam, man. Like, but without spoilers, am I onto something here, or does it seem like?
I'll just say in Azure, you'll get a lot of twists.
Okay, cool.
And the thing is, when you miss out on the Sky games, you don't know all the players that come in later.
Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of things underground that's kind of happening behind the scenes that you're not aware of as, you know, a cop in Crossbell. You just kind of know what is being shown to you.
Right.
So there's a lot of hidden things.
It's kind of a unique angle. Like, honestly, people told me, it's like, I can't wait to see what you think of it, not having played Sky. So that'll probably be my next one. I'm probably going to play Sky next, and then I'll get to Trails of Cold Steel, because I also want to see Erabonia as well. And
I think if you could go chronologically now that you've had a taste, and it's why I personally usually recommend starting with Trails from Zero, just to get people hooked, and so they want to, you know, invest all the time into learning all about the world and experience it all.
Yeah, there's something.
I'm glad this hook helped.
Yeah, there's certainly something rewarding about coming into a world as the world already exists. Like, you just sort of drop in. And you have to uncover.
You don't see Crossbell at all in the Sky games. Like, that is. Even if you're experiencing chronologically, it's still you dropped into Crossbell.
Okay.
There's things that are being alluded to in the Sky games, but you don't see Crossbell at all.
Yeah, very, very exciting. Like, I'm very pumped to see where it goes. Just got to get some more gaming time in, and hopefully next weekend's going to be a good weekend for that.
Do you use a guide at all when you're playing?
No, totally blind.
I would recommend it, because there are missables. There are a lot of hidden quests that you don't want to miss.
If I talk to everybody, because I talk to everybody every time.
Sometimes you have to talk to people twice. Sometimes you have to do a sequence. Like, some of it.
Okay. Well,
I always have it open, honestly. And the guides on Neoseeker, I think, do a good job of not spoiling things ahead of time. They just want to make you prepared, make sure you're not missing something.
Neoseeker, okay.
So they'll recommend maybe do this and this. I highly recommend it, honestly. I can't play Trails without a guide
Okay.
open.
We'll do. That's good to know, and I appreciate that because
Yeah.
I don't want to miss
Yeah.
anything because it's all fascinating. And
there's some conversations you'll miss too. Like you don't want to miss those.
yeah, it's every
Because sometimes you have to really backtrack. You have to like go to the village, even though you just did something like
oh,
down
I'm doing
south and
that.
like
Yeah.
the medical stuff. Like you have to go everywhere.
Oh, 100%.
And
And I'm doing it because I want to know
yeah,
more about these people. I want to see how they develop.
yeah,
Like, and some of
yeah.
those battles are really tough. Like, I got thrown into one battle. It's like, oh, open up this treasure chest, and it even gives a problem. Like, you sure you want to do
The
that?
monsters,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah, bring that shit on, and they crush you.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah,
crush
those I avoid. Like those are mostly for New Game Plus people who already have
you. Okay.
like
Yeah.
a lot of supplies. Or if you go backtrack after you gain a certain level, you could go back and then beat those chests. Yeah, if it's like a level 99, yeah, don't attempt it. When you're
No.
level like
There's
14.
some really strong ass shit. Can
Yeah, the ones that warn you, I would definitely be cautious about.
okay.
Save the game beforehand,
Okay.
and then if you can't do it, yeah, just load the game.
The first time I clicked on an open chest and it said something smart ass, I clicked on it another
Because you
5
already opened
times.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I clicked on it another 5 times. I couldn't believe what I fucking saw. And I think that's the moment I actually fell in love with the game. Is when the empty treasure chest sassed me for taking its item.
When they get sassy, it's so great.
Wow, that was cool.
That came from the Sky Games too. They did it there.
It's one of those things you don't think about, but like in retrospect, why the fuck don't more RPGs have sassy treasure chests? Like mouthy chests. Like your game needs mouthy treasure chests. It's amazing.
And then also, are you playing on turbo mode?
Yes.
Okay,
except for boss battles. Yes.
I know people who weren't doing that, and it's like I can't imagine how many hours it would take.
Like, like it's incredible. So, all right, chat kind of going crazy here. So again, so let's blow through there. Let's see here. I think that's a good way to describe all of the Legend of Heroes games I've played. It's a study of a world, Tony says. Yep. Definitely getting that vibe. No offense, but you can tell when Orbalology starts getting cut off, she gets louder. No offense taken. Yeah, we talk over each other all the time on this show.
We do.
That's just a show.
It's hard, especially. I think it's because also like I'm really bad at this on the phone when I talk to people because I usually take facial cues when I'm talking to someone in conversation. So I don't know when I'm going to be speaking over you.
Well, and I don't have a face, so that
apologies for that.
Yeah. Well,
exactly.
I don't have a face. I'm a ghost. So. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
so I'm just speaking to an apparition.
And she is very passionate about the Trails games as well. Yeah, she's part of the reason why I'm a Trails guy on the internet now. Like 100% one of the reasons. Then hey, I think it's just a normal part of the conversation. Tony says, yeah, welcome to Liquored Up, man. Yeah, not hating at all, just noticing that, yeah, nobody thinks you're hating. Enjoying the combo personally, very interesting topics. We try, yeah. I try to kind of be interesting enough. I'm glad to see you liking it though. Your knowledge of history will help you enjoy the politics and Trails, in my opinion, Zoo. Yeah, so far I'm digging it. I'm really digging it, and ready to see if I got it right or wrong on terms of my current prediction. Are you guys currently watching any anime? So I am slowly but surely working my way through One Piece. And then I got told about another anime that I told my buddy Vince I would watch. And I can't remember what it's called. Frunin, maybe? I totally misspelled that anime.
Furin? The new one with the elf girl?
Yeah, Furin. He told me
a lot of things. I've been seeing so many. Usually I know when something's popular in the anime communities when I see a lot of figures pop up. So there's so many figures of this elf girl.
So before I forget it again in my drunkenness, what is it called again?
I think it's Furin.
Furin. Okay, Furin. Okay, locking that in.
Is her name Furin Beyond? Let's see.
Yeah,
Beyond Journey's End.
That's it. That's the one. Okay. And then
I need to watch it too. I hear it's a little bit different than your typical like fantasy anime. Different perspective.
And then there's
a little bit slower.
And there's another one that I can't think of its name. And it's basically you are a loser guy that got not hit by a car, but basically you died. And then you wake up in like a gaming fantasy world, and like it's a riot, guys. Like there's the knight, and she's like a masochist, and she just likes getting hurt, like she's a tank build, but she likes to get hurt. There is a sorceress who can only cast a super powerful spell one time, and then she's exhausted. And then there's this other guy that's like a water spirit that can only do water tricks, but she can't do anything else as a healer.
So it's kind of like an isekai, but the guy died.
It is an isekai. It is an isekai, but it's like a.
Just all the isekais sound too similar to me.
Yeah.
So I usually avoid them.
I'm watching that. It's very funny. I just can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. I haven't watched it in a while, so it's not super holding my attention. But it's good. I've enjoyed what I've watched so far when I watch. So yeah. So Tony says, haha, the chess comments are fun, but I think they stopped adding. No! What's wrong with them?
Yeah, that is true with the crossbow or Erebonius. They kind of not as much. But there are other things to look forward to, I would say. In the Cold Steel games.
Okay, and I'm sure there are, but that's distressing. I like my sassy chess.
I think that's what makes the chibi for the games just so charming. So maybe that's why they kept it there.
Yeah, and because with the Cold Steel, it gets like realistic, right? Like they're like actually realistically proportioned.
They're 3D models. I wouldn't say they're realistic.
Okay, gotcha. So they're not quite like okay.
It's like anime. It's like PS3 kind of graphics.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Even like they get a little bit better. Like they're kind of, I would say Falcom, they're kind of like an era behind because they're a little bit more low budget than the other JRPG companies.
But that's smart, isn't it?
You don't play those for the graphics anyway.
Well, and it's smart because they're going to being that's what Nintendo does. Being a generation behind means you're not having to bust your budget on that cutting edge tech. And here's
exactly that's why they can focus so much on the story, the characters, the gameplay.
Well, and here's the thing as well. I often talk about we hit the good enough wall for graphics a long time ago, probably 2 generations ago, was good enough for most people. So basically, there's that tech wall to where there's a certain level to where you're doing more than your consumer can really ingest or digest. And I think we're there with a lot of these new games. I think that honestly, as good as they look, I don't think people would bitch if they looked like, say, the new Cold Steel games, or like. I don't think people would complain that much, except you're obsessive. I think
people will complain because they like complaining.
Well, the obsessive freaks known as hardcore gamers would complain, and I think most of your normal customers would be fine with it. I would be. That's why I play on Switch.
Like, were people making fun of the Rowan game that's coming out, like the graphics?
Yeah. I saw that on Player Essence's stream, and like he's like, the game looks lit. I don't care what anybody says, but yeah, people were bitching about it. The game looks fine.
Yeah, I think so too. But yeah, I don't really like the hyper realistic graphics anyway. Personally,
no. Look at it.
I'm never really drawn to those games.
You got to check out.
They also make me motion sickness. Even when I have the settings right, yes. I guess I'm too close to the screen, but still.
Yeah, it can make you kind of woozy, some of those hyper, because it's the uncanny valley effect too, which is never fun. And then you got to look at a game like, for example, Xenoblade Chronicles when it came out on the Wii. Even though that game was a generation behind everybody else, like in terms of graphical fidelity, the art style made up for it. It's still one of the most beautiful games of that entire generation. And it came out on the fucking Wii, which is a souped up GameCube with a motion controller attached to it. Like,
I know a lot of people are upset when they animate it for the 3DS and then the Switch.
Yeah, I did see that they got a graphical style change. I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't.
Okay, you didn't mind it. Like, I know some people who are passionate. Like, I don't like what they did here.
I didn't mind it.
I came in on the Switch version, so I was fine with it. But
but I was there for the story mainly on that game too. Like it's so good.
That's yeah. I didn't enjoy the gameplay for the first Xenoblade game. Like I liked parts of it, but I hated the chain attack kind of combos. I think I didn't really click with me at the time.
Yeah,
but yeah, definitely the story was what kept me invested.
I don't generally feel. I mean, the combat is it once you learn it, it's good. But in general, with those games, I think they're a little too complex for me to honestly say that we're there for the combat. I think it's a little too complex. Now, Trails system, I fucking love.
Trails is great.
Trails has a great combat system. I just finally learned like the different Orbital builds, and so now I'm like coming up with builds and shit, and the way you combine, it's kind of like materia on steroids, basically. Like where you
a little bit, and then you get different arts for depending on what you put in there. It's really cool.
Yeah. So I've got the Remy, I think her name is, like the little mage that used to be my worst character, is now my best character. Like she's just calling down like giant fucking crystal towers from God, like just destroying everybody and shit. And it's like, wow, I can do that at level like 16, 7. That's crazy. So I love that system. Of course, she's like that spellcaster in the anime show. She can only do it fucking one time because it takes all my magicka. But at the same time, it's cool that you can actually get that put together. Like, it's really cool.
But there are different ways to, like, accessories and things you could equip to make it more efficient. So you can do it multiple times.
Exactly. And that's what I'm kind of playing with now. And it's a blast.
Yeah. But it does open up more once you get more in the higher levels. For sure.
So Upper Nimbus says, just the weekly One Piece and Blue Lock. What about you? And then Great Wall says, I just picked up the Crossbell Trails games. I'm really excited to play through them, but I need to finish Xenoblade Chronicles 3 first. Me too. That's another one it's on the list. Like,
it's a great game.
Chill Collect says, sweet, I'm currently watching Gurren Lagann again. Fantastic anime. Like, I could talk about anime all night, guys. Like, I live on the intersection between Anime Avenue and Anime Way. I tell people that all the time. It's kind of a hidden passion of mine. I need to catch up on One Piece. I left off right after they left Wano, so you're way ahead of me on that. No spoilers. And then, yeah, he says Freyrin. Yep, that's the one. And I'm so glad that's in chat now. I can just copy and paste that. Tony, you're a real one. One Piece is great. I'm watching Mashle, Muscles and Magic. It's a fun time. Okay. Gurren Lagann is amazing. It's actually my favorite anime. Good pick.
Nope.
Good
really?
Pick.
I haven't watched that one.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really.
I've heard good things. I think when I first was tempted to try it, I heard it was a little pervy, so I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for it.
It's definitely it definitely has 100%.
Yeah. It's at the time. Like, I'm sure if I watch it now, it'll be fine, but
yeah. And then Man of Culture, he said. Brick Barnes says, which Trails game is the chess in? So it's in Trails from Zero, Trails from Azure, and then Emily just confirmed it's also
the Sky games.
The Sky games as well. Okay. Chill says, I'm glad someone else knows this anime. I mention it all the time and no one's heard of it. Really good gunman anime. Highly recommend to everybody. Yeah, well, Gurren Lagann will teach you to be a man. Like it's like fucking Gunbuster, where like.
I'm surprised no one's heard of it or that who Chill Collects mentioned. Like, I feel like that's one of the legendary ones that everyone was talking about at some point, but maybe that's showing my age.
It's like a JoJo's or a Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah.
Kind of the legends. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is in my to play list this year. I didn't care for the first game's combat myself either. I hear 3 fixes that in a fantastic way. It's why I'm so pumped to play it.
I like 3. It does get tedious though. Like, I feel like 2's combat system keeps you engaged the entire time. Okay. But 3, once you kind of get it, you get it. No. And it gets a little monotonous, especially the chain attacks.
So it brings back okay. All righty. Yeah.
They're different, but yeah.
I spelled it wrong. Haha, it's Freyrin Beyond Journey's End. Yeah, coolness. And thank you for that. Like, I'm sure I could have found it. I'm sure Google would have corrected, but So don't be too hard on yourself. And then 90s handheld, peeking back in for a few. Not watched any anime lit, but recently we watched Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and it might be my favorite. Anything by Hayao Miyazaki, anything by Ghibli Studio is like here. Fun fact for everybody. This is how fucking old I am. Do you know that when My Neighbor Totoro first came out, it was shown in Japanese theaters, and it was shown as a double feature. And this is no shit. The first feature that was shown before My Neighbor Totoro was Grave of the fucking Fireflies.
Oh gosh.
So imagine, like you're in the theaters, you're bawling your fucking eyes out. Yes, it was Grave of the Fireflies was the first feature, and then it immediately goes over to My Neighbor Totoro. So it's after the credits. You're bawling your fucking eyes out. Your soul's been ripped out of your body, and all of a sudden you hear, "Hey, let's go! Hey, let's go!" And you're like singing along, crying, "Hey, let's go!" Just an image.
Also, I feel like the target demographic is so different between those two.
It's a wild pairing. Wild pairing. Like, I couldn't imagine being there back then. Talk about a bloody contrast. Yeah.
I can only watch Grave of the Fireflies once.
I would never
rewatch it.
I agree. I would never watch it again. It just hurts me too bad.
Yeah. Though I loved Howl's Moving Castle, so I agree with Shinky there. it's my favorite.
Peak. Yeah, Howl's Moving Castle is peak. Have you seen the Boy and the Heron yet?
I have.
Okay.
I liked it, though I don't feel like I was as moved as some of the other ones. But maybe I need a rewatch.
No, yeah, I don't think it's peak. Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away, to me, those two will always be the peak to me. Yeah. I also have
I like those two a lot. And Kiki's
Delivery Service, yes. I've also got a soft spot for Arietti and the Borrowers or whatever. Like, I also have a soft spot.
I haven't seen that one. That was when I started dropping off, and I didn't catch the last few until
I would never say it's peak, but I personally have a soft spot for it. Yeah. Welcome back 90s. Howl's Moving Castle is peak. Yeah. Grave of the Fireflies.
I love the books too. The books are great.
Ooh,
even though they're different.
I'm gonna have to look into that now.
They're some of my favorite from I read them in high school after watching the movie.
Okay.
And they're just so feel good books for middle grade feel good.
I need to watch that one. 90 says, talk about a bloody contrast. Yeah, it was wild. Might have to order it. Never seen it in stores. Boy and the Heron is great, but that ending definitely left me confused. Yeah. Yep. No spoilers for anybody, but yeah, I can see that.
Open-ended. That's true.
Princess Mononoke was good. Yep.
That's classic.
Anything by Ghibli. Basically. Kiki's and My Neighbor Totoro will get.
I didn't like. What's the one with the raccoons, or the 10?
The raccoons.
It's not. They're not raccoons. They're the 10. Pompoke. No. I don't think it's Hayao Miyazaki, but it's.
I don't know if I've seen that one. Don't know if yeah. Actually, let me.
That one confused me. Pompoko, yeah.
Pompoko. I haven't seen Pompoko,
but I haven't seen it since high school, so maybe I'm not remembering it very well. I also didn't like Porco Rosso, even though I know some people love it.
Oh, you didn't like Porco?
But again, this is when I was in high school, so maybe if I rewatched it, I would enjoy it more.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's kind of like a Ace Flyer movie. It's pretty good. Not peak.
I think I just didn't like the attitude. I know it was trying to capture a certain sort of feel. Maybe I just wasn't jiving with it at the time.
Could be. Could very well be. Pompoko, and then Tony says, yeah, so confirm Pompoko. All righty. Well, we have gone nearly 3 hours with this son of a bitch. So I got to be respectful of your time at some point. So I guess before we go, I will give you an opportunity to ask me. I always like to give the opportunity for a guest to cross-reference me, ask any questions you might have for me. Do you have any questions for me?
I'm trying to think of what we haven't discussed yet. So I think I asked a few questions throughout this, so I can't think of a new one.
Okay.
Unless there's another topic, I'm happy to keep going if you guys want to. I know there's still over 20 people still watching, which is great.
Yeah, 21 people popped in. So
I'm on the West Coast, so it's only 8:30 here for me.
Oh, okay.
But
Gotcha.
I know you're 2 hours ahead. So
yeah, no, I'm good to go. So I guess one thing we can discuss is the potential for a Switch 2 successor. When do you think that's going to appear? I'm kind of going back and forth on it. My gut has always told me it's going to be 2025. I still believe that. Now some of the reporting is saying that. So I would almost declare victory if not for the fact that I did have a turn after my analysis showing that Tears of the Kingdom and Wonder didn't perform as well as they could have. So I'm not going to declare complete victory on that, but my instincts were correct. I do think it's going to be 2025. What do you think?
I'm leaning towards that as well. And we haven't had any previews of something coming out in the latter half of this year that would seem to carry it into like another, cycle.
Or
a year kind of thing. So,
and it's one of those things.
I think that's kind of the writing on the wall, unless we have another direct maybe next month that reveals something. But
maybe
I think we're winding down a bit with all the remakes, because we saw that too on the 3DS. A lot of remakes happening at the end that a lot of people didn't pick up, and that was kind of transitioning towards the Switch.
Well, Nintendo historically is terrified of console transitions. Like they're on record as being kind of scared of them, and they have got good reason right now. Number one, we are entering again one of the worst economic conditions we've had in years. That is coming. We are literally in a world full of economic downturn, supply chain issues, disease, and war. Like literally, that's what we are in, and none of that bodes well for commerce, generally speaking. Not commerce of the video game variety. Other commerces maybe, but it's not really a great time in terms of launching new products. I don't think there's any argument with that. Like OJ will like to say sometimes that, well, the pandemic proves that wrong.
That's a special case, though.
Exactly.
Because we were traveling, like we were stuck at home. We got stimulus checks.
Exactly. I do not think that most of the time when you have something like that, it makes an industry rapidly decline.
Yeah, it was such a quick recovery too on the stock market. So
right, it's very very unusual.
I don't think we compare that.
Black swan event for sure. Exactly, and that's my point. I think most of the time when you go into macroeconomic decline, and we've seen it before in 2008, all the systems declined. Every single video game system got caught with their pants down. Yeah. Even the Wii started to decline until New Super Mario Brothers Wii came out and reversed it. And it took a 2D Mario game. It took the first 2D Mario game in 18 years to reverse the little Wii's decline. And it's all due to that.
This actually also marks when I stopped playing video games, because that's when I was like wrapping up high school, entering college. Like that wasn't on my mind.
Yeah, it's time. Just yep, time to start adulting. So, yeah, we all go through that phase and kind of leave it behind a little bit. And Shiki makes a good point. Nintendo really doesn't have anything for 2024 so far outside of Luigi's Mansion and Paper Mario. I'm taking that as an off-the-record confirmation for a successor being in the very near future. Yeah, but I've been trying to tell the Nintendo Primes of the world, Shinky, and the RGT 85s of the world, for like, I have a joke, and it's every time they make a Switch 2 video, I'll come in their comments section or on Twitter and say, that's another 3 days. And the joke is that every time RGT or Nintendo Prime makes a Switch 2 video, Nintendo pushes it back 3 days to spite them. And that's kind of the joke I tell.
You're giving in to them. You're engaging with their content, and they get money.
Oh, that's exactly
releasing this.
Well, and here's the thing:
like, the catch-22 there.
Well, and I'm okay with that. RGT's the homie. I like RGT a lot. Nintendo Prime I also like a lot, but I will say this about Prime versus.
I just meant everyone.
Yes.
There's some ridiculous characters that. Been pushing this narrative for years.
Yes, and it's like, and that's what I told them. Like, guys, you've been literally pushing this since. If you go back, Rich from fucking Review Tech makes a Switch Pro, Switch 2 type video in 2018. That guy made that video, and I would go back and forth with Rich and be like, Rich, this is dumb bullshit, and you know it. Like, there was no way, and
he got clicks. I think that's all he wanted. I think he.
Yeah.
And that's what people are interested in. I guess they'll click on it.
But it's misinformation.
That's, I think, the nature of YouTube, though.
It's not my nature.
It's It depends how they phrased it. Like, I think everyone, like, it's fun to speculate. I think that's why there's so much hype around, what the new Switch console is going to be. I think a lot of people like to play into that, and just YouTube has put that on steroids with these videos. Which, like, at this time, I just fatigued with them. But I guess there are people who keep clicking on them. But.
Well, and that's kind of why I laugh it off. And so RGT will flat out admit, I'm just doing it for the clicks. Like, it's click. Yeah. He will admit it. So I respect that.
Yeah.
Now Prime goes with another angle. Prime's angle is I'm excited, and I've never had anybody to talk to about this until I had my channel. I can respect that, but Prime often will say, I don't understand why I get so much hate for this. And so I tried to put it in perspective of we talk about OJ getting attacked by the crazy PlayStation fans. Prime is getting attacked by crazy Nintendo fans. And what I tell him is, I said, imagine you're a hardcore, crazed Nintendo fanboy, right? Now imagine that you have built your identity around being a savvy consumer for this console. You built your identity around it. Your whole identity is, I picked the right box. And so I want my box to do well, and I want everybody else's boxes to not do well. That's how some people legitimately are. Now, if somehow they're not an investor, which is even fucking stupider, but there are people like that. So imagine now.
By investor, you mean the stock investor, or they buy their games to invest?
Like literally, I get that advice all the time to the crazed Nintendo fanboys or the crazed Sony fan. Why don't you go buy stock instead of arguing with strangers on the internet? Why don't you go buy some stock?
I think most of them don't probably have much of a stock portfolio anyway.
They do not. I can tell. So now, but you got to understand, I told Prime this, to somebody who cares about Nintendo, really cares about Nintendo, how many people held off on buying a Nintendo Switch because of content like yours? How many sales did the constant drumbeat of Switch Pro, Switch 2, Switch Pro, Switch 2? I don't know if it's measurable how many sales Nintendo has been cost because of those narratives for the last 6 years. I kid you not.
Oh, yeah. I've gotten so many comments on my videos. I don't even talk about the Switch 2, but people keep saying, I don't know if I want to buy this because it's going to be backwards or compatible. I just know it.
Well, and again,
or this is what everyone else is saying. And it's going to happen next year. I know it, but it doesn't.
and I can't prove it.
I don't know.
I can't prove it. And we're going into a little bit of tinfoil hat territory. But I feel like the video games industry kind of does this on purpose because they want Nintendo to produce a hardcore gamer system that has the high graphics. They want to push Nintendo forward. And I feel like in particular, the Western third-party devs paired with the video game industry and their predilection for graphics, I just feel like this is deliberate, and this is a deliberate gaslighting of Nintendo.
I don't know if it's necessarily that, because they've already made it clear that Nintendo is not Sony or Microsoft, right? By calling it not the high-end game or whatever they said.
Right, casual.
Because they're doing so well, it's a way to bring them down, because that's just an easy, I don't know. It's easy to hate on someone who's successful than the opposite, I think.
Well, I'm just trying to find a reason why we keep getting these fucking articles, because
it gets clicks.
Because and it might be Occam. So Emily is taking Occam's razor and just cutting that shit in half and saying, "Hey, it's because it gets clicks. It gets people who want to do the Switch 2 narrative, and it gets people like me pissed. That's why they do it." So that's exactly
why. Heightened emotions on both spectrums, I think. Just granted a lot of clicks. But another thing is, I don't know if I'm going to buy the first iteration of the Switch 2. Because we've seen this with a lot of Nintendo consoles, that if you wait a little bit, it might get better. And so why buy an inferior version when they're going to just upgrade it a year or two later? So I don't know what's going to happen, because we did see with the OLED Switch that came out pretty late, I would say, in the cycle, and it wasn't that much of an upgrade.
Not really.
But it'll be interesting if it does receive a higher upgrade, down the line. That might make the first release kind of obsolete.
See, I bought it for the
we saw with the 3DS.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
I saw it with the the reason I replaced mine isn't even the screen. It was the OG battery was just very low compared to the new I bought it for the battery, and I skipped, and I thought something like that might happen with the OLED screen. So they had the revision that actually had the better battery. I'm like, I'm going to hold off a little bit longer. If there's not a revision, I'll buy a Switch at the very end after the new system's announced and buy the new battery. I was always going to buy another Switch to get that battery, but the OLED was
also, I think it's good to have a backup if you love the console. Like, there's something will happen down the line.
Especially now. So everybody always likes to talk about the Nintendo consoles are bulletproof. They were bulletproof before they started using that Tegra, that new chip. Nintendo is also kind of standardized with kind of the PC hardware at this point. And so they're using outside hardware that's not hardware built by Nintendo, like the Wii was and like the GameCube was. Starting with the Wii U, they started to use those standardized chipsets to satisfy the third-party game devs, because it's easier to develop cross-platform for. This is no longer Nintendo-developed hardware at this point, a lot of times. A lot of it's outsourced. So with Wii U and with Nintendo Switch, you're going to have, these consoles won't last 50 years like the old ones. There's too many moving parts, and there's just too much tech in there. And when the battery goes, it's an internal battery. When the battery goes, it's gone. It's kaput. So
well, that's why we need some other means to maybe emulate these games, but that's just in the future to think about. But
oh, definitely, it's why I can't be too. I'm never hard on emulation. Like, it's absolutely vital at this point, considering the absolute abdication of responsibility that the games industry has for its own products and its own art. So as long as they have that attitude, like, emulate the shit out of games. Not going to say pirate, but emulate the shit out of these games. And that includes Nintendo.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially Nintendo, because they're acting like fucks right now.
They're the worst. Yeah.
Acting like absolute fucks right now. I love them, but...
So I don't appreciate Sony having all their legacy games behind a subscription service right now.
Me neither. No, that's horseshit. And Sony, the biggest problem with Sony has forgotten what made them successful. So for some reason, Sony decided to emulate the loser. They decided to emulate the 360, the Xbox. For some reason, I don't know. I don't know what in their head made them think, you know what, that console that we beat their ass every single time, I think we should emulate their business model. I think that's a smart move. I think we should fire all of our internal studios. I think we should fire our Japan studios. I think we should go with subscription models. I think we should farm out all of our exclusive games and then not have exclusive games. That's a great fucking plan. That's a great plan. Like, how'd that work out, Sony? How'd your last business conference go? How'd your last investor call go, Sony?
Yeah, I do hope things turn around for them, because I do have a lot of fond memories with Sony on the PS2 back in the day. But it's just hard seeing the direction the industry is kind of moving towards.
Sony is important for overall gaming quality. It's important to have at least two. Like, I don't have much hope for Microsoft.
Well, you need competitors.
Yes.
You need competitors.
Because what's going to happen important. Is Nintendo's going to get fucking lazy, and we're going to get right back to fucking weirdo Nintendo, making window washer Mario and making fucking tag team Mario Kart and fucking Star Racer Kirby and fucking Star Fox on foot doing puzzles. That's what's going to happen. Like, Nintendo's going to get arrogant, and they're going to get fucking lazy again. And we're going to get weirdo Nintendo.
People just moved to PC too, I think, and kind of abandoned consoles.
Right.
I don't know.
I worry about it. Like, again, they need, you're right. They need that competition. Like, Nintendo gets,
like you can't get competition like on Steam or whatever, but it is a little different comparing a console system versus a PC system at the end of the day.
Now you have a
Steam Deck. It does target different demographics.
Oh, definitely. Sorry? Now you have a Steam Deck, right?
I don't. I've been borrowing my brother's.
Okay.
It's okay. I don't really like it.
Okay. What don't you like?
I don't like the weight of it. It's a little heavy for me, so I have to set it on my lap to play.
Okay.
And I think I'm still getting used to the grip. Like, I think if they streamlined it a little bit more, I would be sold. So they did tease that they're making a new model after this OLED version. So I'm curious if they're going to change the form factor at all.
Yeah, Steam has the possibility. Steam has the potential to really do something with that. I do think the next genuine product, not the revision, but the next Steam Deck product they put out, I think it's going to be a world beater. I think if they
Yeah,
get that,
yeah.
Very excited for it.
Yeah, I meant that's the one I'm waiting for. Not a revision necessarily, or a 2.0 version.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but
So,
yeah, I think if Steam also, like, it depends how their storefront goes, because right now when it comes to a lot of the Japanese games, like some of them aren't like, they're either heavily censored or they can't be put on the Steam front store. So I do wonder regarding some JRPGs how that's going to shape things.
yeah,
because they're a bit more strict. Their policies compared to Nintendo or PlayStation at this point, I think.
Yeah, it's a little concerning for sure. Like, yeah, that's in terms of just making sure that curation's there. Gotta be able to be pro games. Like, you can't.
And yeah, if everyone just goes to them for the games too, like I know GOG exists, but they have a very limited library.
Yeah.
So I would hope that they kind of step up their game maybe more, get more titles. But I don't know. I think Steam does need more competition.
Yeah,
for it to get better.
As a user of GOG, I can 100% agree with everything you say. Like, it's just not. They're just not competitive in getting other games that they need in order to make that a viable platform. The games that are there are good and they're often cheap and they're DRM free. But for some reason, that just doesn't seem to be enough because people are going to go where the games they want to play are. And
if they have an established library, why seek elsewhere? Like, if it's all on one platform, it's convenient. It's a convenience thing.
And that's what I'm trying to say. Like, Steam just made a big deal of like, hey, we're putting Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall for free on Steam. Like, that's great, guys, but ain't most of the modern gaming, they don't want to play that fucking game. Like, they just don't. Like, hey, Ultima 7's $1.99. I love that Ultima 7's $1.99. I love that Star Control is free, but I'm an alien. Like, there's not many people.
Like the accessibility for sure. Yes, for all these games.
You need the games that
when you are
want.
overwhelmed with choice, it's difficult to play some of those or choose those.
Right.
Especially competing against modern games.
Right. And I tell people, like I've told OJ, like he's like, what's this crusty ass thing? It's Star Control 2. He popped in one of my live streams. What is this? I said, OJ, if you play this, you like Mass Effect, this is the game Mass Effect ripped off. And they freely admit it. The story came from this fucking game. This game is one of the best games of all time. Just give it a shot. Like, I don't know if he will. He's more of a fan of like the JRPG. But if he ever does, I think he'll like it. So 90 says NWO rolling out in full effect. And then he says that Shanky agreed. I think the signs are there for a new system coming up. Yeah, signs have only been there since 2018, guys. So I'm kind of with everybody, which is like, enjoy the Switch when Nintendo wants to announce something.
Exactly. And you don't need to buy it day one. Like a lot of us are very much hardcore into the latest and greatest. So I'm sure most of us probably will get it day one. But like I didn't get the Switch for myself. I was borrowing my brother's system at the time until 2020. So
however,
I was a little bit of a late adopter.
However, you can get your hands on it. Like that's a lot of people do that. And then he says 2 screens Switch 2. LOL. I actually joked that you're not going to get a Switch 2 at all, and y'all are going to get like some VR nightmare system from Nintendo. That's the kind of thing. It's the kind of thing they do. You have to admit it's the kind of thing they do.
Yeah. I would like to avoid VR at all costs.
Me too. If you want to talk about the most unviable product they could do for a Switch successor, it would be. But Miyamoto's fucking obsessed. Miyamoto has been obsessed since the Virtual Boy with 3D and VR. Like the Nintendo developers used to sit around in like little white rooms and used to literally chant on camera, "Now is the time for 3D." Like during the 3DS, there is a cult around 3D and VR, and there's a cult around this shit at Nintendo. So I half worry that's what we're.
It was a little bit at Sony too, because they did the 3D PS3 games, right, with the 3D TVs.
Yeah, and how'd that turn out?
And then now the VR stuff. So they both are obsessed with it. I don't get it.
It makes me sick. It makes me visually sick. Like it's not
I have no interest.
Me neither. I got my Switch back in 2018, Brick says, but I didn't really start playing it until the pandemic started. Animal Crossing saved me from going crazy. I think Emily had a similar story as far as her start. on Switch. Like, that's when she started
Okay.
was Animal Crossing. Yeah. For every person,
Pull the trigger.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's when a lot of people did. Animal Crossing was the game. Animal Crossing was the game for a lot of peeps.
I only played it till like July, and then I dropped it.
my sister got her Switch right during that time with Animal Crossing.
Okay.
For every person
Nice.
that didn't buy a Switch, Shinky said there's another fan that has gotten four. that is true, Shinky. There's another fan that's gotten.
Well, that
four
reminds me of the
different
3DS.
Yeah.
The 3DS, everyone was collecting all the different
multiple
types.
versions of these, like on each household. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Great Wall says Switch Pro and Switch 2 videos got so exhausting. I'm pumped for a new system, but I'm just enjoying the Switch until it gets announced. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. It's not like they're giving you nothing. You're getting the weird diving game, and you're getting the Paper Mario that everybody says I have to play. So
well, the third-party support's still great.
Yeah,
we're even getting Xbox games.
Yes, Pentiment, and by the way, that's the one I wanted. Like, there's not much from Xbox I want, but when I saw Pentiment, I'm like, that right there, I want that, and I want the other, like some.
I want some legacy games, like some of the 360 JRPGs would be cool.
Lost Odyssey.
Yeah, and even like Fable. I liked Fable too. Personally, on the 360.
I hear good things about Fable. I hear good things. Konosuba is an anime you were talking about, Zoo, with the masochistic armor knight and darkness. She is the best girl. Okay. Yep, that's the one. That's the one. And yeah, my boy got stuck with clowns for party members. They are straight clowns. They should paint their fucking faces. Straight clowns. But it's funny to watch the dynamics. Like my poor boy got stuck with absolute trash party. But it's the comedy ensues for sure. Then Upper Nimbus says, Scorpio, my man, welcome back. Stinky says, I'll get it day one out of a chronic addiction to Nintendo games. Yep, that's I'm trying to stop that today. Same here, Shanky. Shelly says that was my line of thinking when I purchased an OLED, even though I already had a Switch. Yeah, that's what happened to me. Yes, the OLED showed up. I'm like, okay, I need a battery. I'm tired of Breath of the Wild dying on me 3 hours in. Like, let's see if we can get this going better. Oh God, here comes the GameCube Defense Force, Emily. Hey, I love my Double Dash. Double Dash is a classic. I love Star Fox Adventures. I wish Nintendo really just put all their GameCube games on the Switch. Yeah, we need more GameCube games back, in my opinion. Is it all out?
Do you want the Fire Emblem GameCube game? That's the one I ask for. And it's Skies of Arcadia.
Is it all? Okay.
I don't know many GameCube games. I want those.
Do you all have it out of your system? Now let me hit you with some. Now let Zoo hit you with some gospel. If the games were so good, why didn't everybody buy a GameCube?
I had limited funds as a kid. I can only have one system, and that was the PS2.
Excuses. But why did you buy the PS2? Why did you buy the PS2?
I didn't buy it. My parents did.
Oh, okay. But
my parents wanted a DVD player.
But they wanted the There you go. So should have had a DVD player is the lesson here, Nintendo. And then also you should have had games that people recognize. You should have had a Star Fox game. You should have had a real Mario Kart game. You should have had a real Mario game, preferably a 2D game. You should have had a Zelda game that was not a chore time adventure for the feckless citizens of Hyrule and was actually going out and killing shit with your sword. Should have had that.
What's your argument for Fire Emblem Path of Radiance?
I've never. So this was prior to my Fire Emblem.
It's supposed to be one of the best.
Okay.
It's supposed to be like peak Fire Emblem.
Could be.
I haven't played it.
Yeah, and again, the game did have a good.
But also, that was a niche genre back then. Like,
right.
A lot of the Fire Emblems did not sell very well, I think, in the West.
I played 2 Fire Emblems my whole life. One is Three Houses, and the other is the, believe it or not, the Super Nintendo Genealogy of the Holy War. Those are the 2 Fire Emblems.
Oh. There's rumors of that getting a remake.
That would be incredible.
I hope are true.
Oh, me too.
I really hope are true.
Me too. It's the best one that I played. But I've only played 2. But I hope so, because it's a genuinely good game. And now we can go forward in the chat and watch me get dogpiled for my dog shit game.
Do you have a 3DS?
I do not. I do not.
You are missing out on some pretty good Fire Emblem games there.
I hear that, and maybe I get that corrected one day. The 3D, it gave me a headache.
I turned it off. Most games didn't support the 3D.
And you can turn it off?
After a while. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That wastes battery power to have it on. Okay. Mine was always off.
That makes me feel better.
And most games didn't support it again.
Okay, that makes me feel better because it just every time I get a headache after a while. Like it.
Oh yeah, turn it off.
Okay. The Steam Deck
has a little thing on the screen. There's a little switch.
You just flip it. Okay.
You slide it down.
Sweet. The Steam Deck is awkward. I agree that it's too heavy, and I don't like the face buttons and D-pad being in the top corners. Ooh.
Yeah, it's weird.
Ew.
It's weird. And I don't like the trackpad either. It's weird. But maybe it's something I just need to get used to.
Matt Belmont's in the house. What's going on, Belmont? What's up, man? The Holy Water Maestro. What's up, Belmont? Hey, Belmont. Belmont! I'd be done with Nintendo if they went to VR. Yeah, me too, pretty much. Like, yeah, I don't care. I just don't care. And neither does the market, Nintendo. How y'all doing? What up, Belmont? VR makes me nauseous after 20 minutes. VR mini golf is amazing. Maybe in small doses. Zero Call, the problem with VR is maybe it's a me thing, but it just makes me nauseous. And I hear that from a lot of peeps. That's the thing about
I'm the same.
Yeah. Now 90
in my very limited time, tried one.
Now 90 says I won't even try VR. Not for me. Now, I wouldn't say that, but it's not for everybody. I'll just leave it at that. For sure. It's not for
I don't know.
everybody.
It's like they want us to be like in an isekai anime or something, you know?
Yeah,
that's my only thought. Like you're in what's that one that's awful? Sword Art Online or something. They're trying to transform gaming into that, which I'm not interested in.
Yeah. Matt Belmont says not much. Just got done playing some Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Oh, that fucking game. Belmont, I've got a review on the old Super Nintendo Hub, which Masamune would not take down at my request. So all my old reviews are there. Go check out what I said about that fucking game if you get an opportunity, my man. That game is brutal. That game is fucking brutal. Oh my God, that game. It's fun, but it is really brutal. Have you ever played the Ghouls and Ghosts or Ghosts and Goblins games, Emily? Oh
no, I haven't.
Savage. They're savage.
I heard they're hard. I heard they're really hard.
Notoriously hard.
Yeah.
Notoriously hard. 90s handheld said classic game there, could never beat it though. I beat it, but I got so mad. Belmont's talking about with First Loop, like you get to the end of that game and you beat it and they send you back to the beginning because you didn't get some magic crystal that was somewhere. They
I hate that. I hate when that happens.
They did it on purpose. Like that was a troll. They're trolls.
They don't value your time when they do that.
I agree.
I just don't like games.
I agree. Yeah, you can play the whole goddamn thing again. My first game.
Like when it came out, people had limited games, so I guess it's okay to do that loop again. But when we just have so many games nowadays, it's really not.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's not acceptable. Not acceptable. My first game on the Switch was Link's Awakening. I was late getting the Switch too. Hi-Fi Rush, that's the one. I want that too. Hi-Fi Rush is coming. I just want to take.
You have to get a PS5.
Well, hopefully it comes to Switch. I'm holding out hope, but I think it would have already been announced.
And maybe the Switch too, but it doesn't look good for the regular Switch.
Because they would have announced it with Pentiment. That's the thing.
Exactly. Well, they've already announced physicals for the PS5 version.
Oh, that hurts.
Run,
I didn't know that. That hurts. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, I think that ship sailed. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. So Chill Collect says, I got lucky and my brother gifted me with his Persona Q 3DS. I do have two Switches, the Mario Red and Blue Switch and my Tears of the Kingdom OLED Switch, which is what I currently use. That's a nice looking Switch. Like, I like that one. Don't you have that one too, Emily?
I like it a lot.
Yeah, I saw that in one of your videos.
That was the only one I was waiting for. I was waiting for a special edition from a franchise I really wanted.
Okay.
Or loved.
Yeah.
I pulled the trigger.
I was 16. Damn, give me a break. You should have asked
For
your
the
parents.
GameCube. Yeah.
You should have asked your parents harder, Shaky. Path of Radiance has been sitting at a local game store for $200. I won't buy it on that price though. Show collects. So laugh my ass off. Well said, Emily. I was a kid back then. Y'all and your excuses. Y'all and your excuses. Put some respect on the GameCube, Zeus. C's Arcade said. Star Fox Assault was a Star Fox game. Was that on the GameCube? Again, I'm not going to get.
Sounds like it.
I'm not going to challenge. I'm not going to challenge Caesar on the GameCube, Xbox, DVD player era. I already made the mistake of challenging Rush Dog on the PlayStation 1, N64 era, and got publicly pantsed on that one. I think you were there for that pantsing, Emily. Like, yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, Rush Dog just shows up like a badass motherfucker. It's like, Zoo, you weren't there. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And then we looked it up, and I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about. So it could very well be that situation. So I'm just going to assume Caesar is correct. And there was a Star Fox game that was an actual real Star Fox game on the GameCube. Zero Cool says it was cheaper to buy a PS2 than an actual DVD player. Yes, it was. That was a genius thing. Genius thing they did. That was perfect. That's why I call it. That's why I call it the DVD player, because it got.
I still have my fat PS2. It's still holding up.
The backwards compatibility was huge too.
Actually, when I got it, I didn't know it played PS1 games. I feel kind of dumb not knowing that. So I never tried any.
The only GameCube game I want to remaster of is Chibi Robo. I hear that game get memed all the time. People want that one. Like, yeah. I wouldn't mind Eternal Darkness. That looks interesting, but I don't think I'm going to get it because I don't think it's sold enough to get a remake. But I would love to see it. Or you could buy it.
I don't know. There's weird ones that, like, I didn't expect. What's the Monolith Soft one that just got a Switch?
Oh, Kaidos, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect that to get
release. Yeah, that was
not just one, but both of them.
There's been some fucking out of nowhere. They just did it with the diving game, the Endless Ocean. Nobody expected a break.
Exactly. I think Nintendo's unpredictable, so
they are. They absolutely are. Fire Emblem 4 is the best. Strategy RPGs are still pretty niche. I would say Fire Emblem was an outlier. Really enjoyed the GameCube series, but wouldn't say it's peak for me, Tony says. Okay.
Okay.
And then 90s Handheld says, or you can buy a 2DS suit. Yeah, the slate design's kind of interesting. I did see. By the way, they're still selling like 2DS systems. Like they're still included in Japanese sales, and it makes me laugh every single time. You'll see like the 2DS sold like 12 consoles still. And it's like, wow.
That's great.
It's still kicking. Yeah, it's still kicking.
They still got some in the back room.
Yep. Obligatory mention of Bravely Default while the 3DS is being talked about. I do like what I played of Bravely Default too. I do like what I played of it.
Okay. There's rumors of them bringing the first two games on the 3DS onto the Switch.
They should.
So it'll be interesting if that actually happens.
Yeah,
I think it should too.
I would buy that.
Bravely Default 2, I think, released at a weird time. It didn't get as much hype, maybe as it maybe deserved. So it'll be interesting if that gets more of a resurgence.
I mean,
because I keep hearing people going back to that game and saying how great it is. I still have it on my shelf, unplayed, but.
Laugh out loud. That's why I held off on purchasing a 3DS until a friend told me you can just turn the 3D off. Yeah, that's kind of a game changer. That's good. Brooke Barnes says going to sleep while listening to you guys talk. Awesome. I'm now what do you call it? Channel an
ASMR
channel now. That actually is ASMR. Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. That's cool. I do that too. I'll just put videos on. Like typically it's long form like video game content. I was like I fell asleep last night listening to an 8-hour review of Fallout New Vegas' downloadable content. Like knowing full well it's 8.5 hours, and knowing full well I'm not gonna hear hardly any of this, but it'll put me to sleep. Like, yeah.
Maybe some osmosis.
Uh-huh.
I'll have to play it back and see if you remember anything.
Yeah. We need that 3DS Bravely Default collection on the Switch, so Upper Nimbus agrees. I mean, it started as an arcade game, so it makes sense. That's Ghouls and Ghosts. Yeah, it's just crazy diamond hard. That game is brutal, bro, but I am a stubborn as fuck, so I will beat that game. Oh, yeah, it's not as hard. Belmont, if you want a real hard experience, play Ghosts and Goblins on NES. Yeah, play. You'll get destroyed. Like, it's crazy. Scorpion says, "What's good, my fellow my fellow brother Belmont?" And he said, "I was wrong. Then it's grounded." Great Wall says. Stinky says, "I
Yeah,
picked up."
Ground is coming to the Switch.
Nice. And grounded looks interesting. Like, it's like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids the game, basically.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe too, or like Tiny Soldiers or something.
Yeah. Played Tears of the Kingdom OLED Switch myself. Good man, Shinky. I love the Wii, but you could call it the retirement home console. Yeah, and it was fucking brilliant for that. Absolutely brilliant. That was the purpose. Purpose was to bring more gamers into the fold, and it succeeded. It was a disruptive.
I think they still use it, right? In some facilities.
They do. Yep, it
the
was
dance games and stuff.
It was what's called a blue ocean disruptor, 90s. So it wasn't looking to be competing in that red ocean that Microsoft and Sony are in. It's red because all the fighting, the blood in the water from all the infighting. They sailed into the blue ocean, and they found new customers, and they brought them in. And then, of course, Sony and Microsoft decided to become economic birdmen. And like Icarus, they strapped feathers to their arms and flapped their arms really, really hard to try to emulate Nintendo, and flew too close to the sun and fell in the ocean. That's what happened. That's the story of that generation, basically. At 90s, LOL. Shelbone collects, maybe 2024, all these GameCube games coming to Switch. Laugh out loud, who knows? My personal wish is for Wind Waker to come to the Switch, because I want to put this whole sales thing to bed. Everybody loves to make excuses. Oh, it's never been on a system with a high. I'm done with that. Put it on the Switch. I want Wind Waker on the Switch. And when it sells 3 million copies, y'all can finally shut the fuck up about this game just being nope, the market just rejects it because it's Zelda, not Zelda. That's what happens. It's still awesome.
I haven't played it, so I would like it personally.
Yeah,
for my own collection.
And lots of people would love
along with Twilight Princess.
Yeah, a lot of people love Zelda. 3 million sales is not bad by regular industry standards. It's not a bad sales at all,
especially for a game that's already released.
But it's not 7 to 30 million sales, guys. It's just not, and it won't be. It won't be. Okay. The year of GameCube.
Well, a lot of people can emulate it, right? So
yeah, and you can also emulate Wind Waker 100%. The year of GameCube remakes. He says, yeah, it seems to be that way. Don't play with my heart like that. I've been clamoring for a Bravely collection almost every other way. Almost every video I do. LOL. Well, I hope so, because I kind of want to play them too. Scorpio says arcade.
Well, they're supposed to be like the return of Final Fantasy 3, right? With the job system.
Yes.
And that kind of old school Final Fantasy.
That's the ones I like. Yeah, because 6 was my peak favorite. I love 6 to death. So, and 5 I like too. I liked 5. I just felt 5's story was just kind of mid. I guess
that was more about the gameplay and the job system.
Yes,
right?
job
That's
system was it was the star of the show. Caesar K. Scorpio says, Caesar says, I think this may be one of the longest podcasts yet. I'm nearly home from my commute, and you guys are still going. She shattered you, Caesar. She shattered you. I think she just shattered your record, homie. I have, and I'll beat those games' ass too. Mark my words. I believe you. You can beat that. You can make that corridor in Castlevania with the Medusa heads and the fucking asshole axe knights. You can make that look easy. You'll have no problem with ghosts and goblins. I believe in you, brother Belmont. We believe in you. Yo, what's up, Caesar? 90 says Nintendo needs to bring custom Robo back. 90 says I have Wind Waker on the GameCube but never played it. I need it on my Switch. Emulation is a poor man like me's best friend. Yeah, I'm for anything, Belmont, that brings gaming to the masses. For anything. However you can play games however you need to find a way to play them. Yes.
Yeah, especially if it's not being offered at MSRP right now.
Right. Especially if they're not selling it.
Fuck. They're not selling it, so.
Nintendo says emulation stifles innovation. They say go find their old games at pawn shops and garage sales. Well, does Nintendo want to pay the $200 to get Emily or Belmont, they want to pay for that? No, they don't. And they don't want to offer it for sale so they can go buy the game at a decent price. Well, pirate the fuck out of it then. We don't know game companies shit. Beyond, if they don't want to sell the product, we don't owe them shit. We owe them a retail sale. That's what we owe them. If we want their game, we don't owe them anything more than that. They don't want to put the retail sale out. Fuck them. Sorry, not sorry. I will never be a Nintendo, like person who is.
No, it's not just Nintendo. I think it's the other.
I will never
sure.
work. I will never work for Nintendo. I will never work for Nintendo because
You never be an ambassador.
Well, ambassadors are different though. Ambassadors are.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, basically, ambassadors just get access to events and shit. Like they're not like Nintendo employees.
Yeah. And they get a title.
That's why I'm sitting there thinking about my wording on it because I don't want to. Because I know Nintendo ambassadors and they're badass people, but I'll never work directly for Nintendo because I can't toe that company line. I just can't. They do some shady shit. They just do. Alrighty, well, I think that pretty much does it. I do have to go to work, or I could go. Fuck, we're definitely gonna have to do a round 2. I think we've definitely got it in us. At some point. I always end with one last question. Got one last question for you, Emily. Emily,
all right.
Did you have fun?
I did.
All righty.
I think we had a lot of great topics and interesting conversations, and yeah, we'll have to do this another time.
Oh, 100%. Always down for more. If you want to stay on with me for a little bit, we'll do like a little bit of a denouement at the end here. I'm going to go ahead and bounce the chat out of here. Guys, it's been one for the ages. Again, Caesar, going to have to reclaim your record. See if you can keep me longer than what'll basically be 3:40 when we log off. So it's on you next time, big guy. So, all righty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I love you guys. Brooke, take care. And everybody have a great night and get the fuck out of here.